Well, not many other people who are better to give off ruckus tips than Rubu. Saw NV off to a hot start here in the PPL, grabbing themselves a win in the last set. But looking forward to set number 3. We got Kanga in their first season in the PPL going against RNG. Nick, pretty hair, back next to me here on the desk. Nick, how you feeling about these two lineups?
Well, I casted the first couple, and it's rough, right? I'm ready to kind of just relax a little bit on the desk here. Just, give the people what they want, which is really just a lot of unbiased commentary on the desk. I mean, everybody here knows that I don't really tend to lean any one particular direction in this matchup. So for me, the big question is Kanga is one of our first truly international rosters that we get to see. Not only people from North America, not only people from all over the world in Australia, Europe. They got really everything going for them right now. So I don't know what's going to happen here today, but I'm excited for both of these teams. I wouldn't say I can lean either way.
You don't lean either way?
No, not really.
But looking at the Kanga roster, it's their first season here in the PPL, building a team around Jera and Evil Eye. I mean, those two guys, are they sort of the cornerstones of this lineup?
It's tough to say. I think they bring a great, unique new perspective. This is kind of what Garrett needed. He's been on a lot of very successful teams in the past with not a lot of people like checking him, so to speak. You know what I mean? So he's going to bring a winner's perspective, right, to Kanga, which is something that they've never quite have. And then they've got Evil Eye, which is, I would almost equate him to like a rock monkey, right, where he's he's a huge fragger with no ego. And a fun little factoid about Evil Eye that I learned last season was that he had to retry out for his spot like 2 or 3 times during the season. And from the outside looking in, you just see this monster every week destroying people. And you're like, he had to retry out? I'm like, what the hell are the rest of you having to do to keep up with him? But that's the type of thing where he's used to being treated like, nothing is going to be given. Everything has to be taken every single day, every single step we take in this journey. So I think he's got a really good attitude and mentality to bring to this game. Sure. So he's going to be bringing in nothing but stardom as a DPS for Kanga. I think Gara brings a lot of perspective. I think he'll be checked in as support. And I think it's going to be a really, really good day for Gara overall. And for this Kanga lineup, it might take a little bit of meshing and coming together. But the Kanga guys are very kind, very receptive.
Absolutely.
And I think they'll be a really good fit for these two.
Certainly, and looking to get off to a hot start here in their first PPL season. And then you look at the opposite side, and you have Renegades returning from last season. I mean, would it be safe to say that last year they were sort of a middle-of-the-pack team? They had some great games. They had some great weeks with some moments of brilliance, but not really able to put together in that top 1 or 2 finish.
Firmly in third place, basically since their inception, have the Renegades been. They, I believe, are the only team to lose to Splice last season, which was a big mark for Splice to get that first W ever for that franchise. But the biggest thing for me is that Renegades haven't made a lot of roster changes despite being a middle-of-the-pack team and despite there being such an expanded kind of talent pool for them. So I am curious to see. They've added a great player, again, I think in Vocal. Sort of how I was talking about Evil Eye is kind of that same way. He's a younger guy, a lot of talent on his side, young hot talent, you might say. But at the same time, he doesn't really have a big ego about himself. I don't really think he's looking to kind of flip the table and say, all right, this is my team now. This is how we're going to do things here, brother. I think he's just going to be a good fit for these guys. Do they come out and not be that middle-of-the-road team? There's only one way to find out, and that's to get into the set.
Have to get into it, and the roster is much the same as it was last year for RNG, only making the 1 or 2 changes on their side. So as far as how it's going to be different, and this is not necessarily an RNG-specific question, but a team who doesn't change up their roster, is that just practice changes, maybe chemistry changes?
Figuring out who's going to do what role, right? And Voco's been kind of a fragger his whole life, so figuring out who's going to take Kliku's old spot was the only guy that's changed. Was they don't have Kliku now. Kliku was a big part, big front line, commanded a lot of attention. I think did a lot of work for the Renegades, so figuring out who's going to fill those shoes is a big, important role for the Renegades.
Well, we have to watch the games to find out, but first, we're going to toss it over to the Kanga guys. We have a player waiting by for a quick pregame interview.
I'm here with Hades, the man behind the Kangaroo, and I mean, everything has so far for your team has been pretty successful. When you were at Worlds this past year, everything looked good, but you've picked up Evil Eye, you've picked up Jera. How are y'all feeling going into this match?
Yeah, feeling pretty good. We managed to make the move to the US, so that was a major, stepping stone for us. And we haven't got much practice so far due to the ping, but now that we're here, we're practicing and it's looking good.
I mean, if you were trying to play on Australian ping, you're going, 300 ping for there to North America? So do you think being on land consistently is going to really improve your guys' play?
Yeah, that like you said, the ping is just unplayable. We had one player from EU as well, so even just the time zones alone was unplayable. So now that we're here, it means so much quality practice for us that it's going to make an insane difference over time.
And speaking of it, there are a couple of rosters we have that have been able to pick up like an EU, an NA, and then some other region in the world. And you're one of the only other teams that have done that, ringing obviously 3 from Australia. But you picked up Evil Eye in North America, and now you have Jera as well from EU. So what was it that kind of made it when you were moving over here, you're looking at this season, what made them stand out to you?
Really for us, the country of origin didn't really matter at all. We're just looking for who was the best fit, who was the most skilled player. And yeah, this is the roster we ended up with. We didn't really have a choice to actually trial them, so we're just based off skill that we knew from past events.
Well, thanks so much, and good luck in your games. But with that, we'll go back to the desk before we can talk to Renegades.
Hades, the Kanga coach, such a pleasant individual. Even talking about something as unplayable as ping, he just seems so
It's
nice.
the accent. It's the accent.
It's absolutely the accent.
He could say anything you wanted to, and you'd be like, wow.
Just look at him.
That's so interesting.
I mean,
Tell me more.
you're certainly not biased. You have no team bias either way.
None whatsoever.
But certainly feeling good. It seems like the Kanga roster's just happy to be here, happy to be together, excited to get that chemistry moving forward.
Right, like I said, that's one of the initial hurdles of having that
Right.
international team, right? They've got Gara from EU, they've got Evil Eye from NA, and then the rest of the boys are from the other side of the globe, right? So it's not only like 300 plus ping. To get to NA, Garos have to playing on ping, but going from the opposite way, plus time zones.
Right.
It's day here and night there. Like they literally have no overlap. So it's tough for them to sort of overcome those gaps, but it's one of those rosters that I'm hoping pays off, right? So then more teams will feel comfortable doing something like this, and it's all about paying that upfront fixed cost, right, of like getting that together, but I think it is going to be worth it for this team once they start to come together and mesh.
Well, now that they don't have high ping, it's like the chains are off and they're going to be an unstoppable beast. We did just get a quick chat in, with the coach of Kanga, but on the flip side, we have a player from RNG standing by for an interview as well.
So we're here, and again, this is going to be a little bit different. You're not coming from Australia. Y'all have been around. And in fact, Renegades is one of the few teams we have that is mostly stuck together. So coming into this season, what was the mentality behind that?
Everyone was still already comfortable with each other. We didn't really have anything we wanted to change, just wanted to grow together as a team. So just stick with that, move on.
So this has been a team that we've seen consistently in North American play online last season, was usually third place, always vying for that second place spot, but always just falling a little shorter than they wanted, but making it to land every single time and having good performances. Do you think now everyone's on land, you get to see Moonshopper on land all the time, is this going to be a huge improvement for the team?
That we have Shadow, which is it's a bit of a struggle because we only had him for one day before this. But I'm here now. Hopefully, I can bring some of my expertise from Europe, from America, whatever I've been, and sort of boost them to more of a second, first seed, hopefully.
So is there anything, coming into this, you're keeping the same players. When you're looking at Kanga, has anything stood out to you as a weak spot that you can kind of take down for this exact set?
I know Vuli. I know Gara. I've played with both of them, coached both of them. Those guys are the know inside and out. Kanga, they always bring a little bit something weird, timber mill, whatever it is. So we do our best research we can and adapt on the fly.
Well, they've got the research, they've got everything ready, and Renegades are ready for this match, so I can't wait to get it started.
Thank you, Gore. Thank you for the interview as well. And that's something that I think all the teams have been talking about today, in that, nobody's really been able to say, we know exactly what they're going to do, at least in the first set. I know
Right.
Envy and Navi are a little more comfortable with each other, of course. But that's sort of what today and what these early weeks are about, more figuring out how different people play, what maps they like, what different champions that, player A likes, what champion player B likes. And I think it's interesting to see, and Powtek, the coach there of RNG, just backing that up further.
And I love the point that he made, right? He has coached Evil Eye in the past. He has coached Gara in the past. So There's something going on there, right?
Yes.
He's definitely been around the block a little bit, and our last best of 7 of the day will start no other than Frog Isle.
Frog
You love
Isle.
to see it.
Frog Isle, the greatest map in the game, indisputably, only because of the frog statue. But I do like it. I mean, that's actually an interesting point. I think of the 3 sets we've had today, Frog Isle was first in 2 of them. I think Frog Isle was first in our first set. I can't quite remember, but that's an interesting thing to see. I guess that's kind of the shift of the meta here for these pros. Maybe they just feel comfortable on Frog Isle.
The map meta is always interesting. Usually it comes out to just be like, we have a map that we ban. Like a lot of teams have been like the Shadow Desert, right? Like you have a couple maps that you even, to the point where you refuse to scrim on them, right? If somebody picks something, you're like, no, like let's remake. We always ban that map. We're not going to play that. So I think that's about the end of the conversation is in terms of the map meta, right? You have like your best foot forward and your map that you always ban. Everything else in between is probably just in response to who you're playing and what you expect to do that day. The meta's been an interesting thing to watch sort of evolve throughout the day in terms of the champion draft because it has been less about NA and EU, but just more team to team, right? It's been very, very high spikes of like sometimes you'll see EVs, right? And then in other sets, EV will not be picked or banned whatsoever at any point during that best of 7. Here we're starting with a little bit of a standardization. Seen a decent amount of Grover bans, a couple Grover picks, but he is one of those characters that when he makes it through, I don't feel like he takes over the game, but again, it's like that low-key Inara thing that we talked about, right? It's not super frustrating in your face to play against a Grover, but it does have its impact.
I think it was Mr. Hayes in our last set who had like a 32 streak or something like that on the Grover. So certainly making his impact felt. But Frog Isle, commonly known for its sniper, so you don't see any banned out here. Do you expect to see some of the snipers come out here on either side?
Definitely for Renegades. Renegades now have Vocal. They have one of the most incredible sniper players. They also have Shadow, which has been a big part of the North American minor league scene. And he is one of the few, EV mains that is kind of floating around here in the PPL. And just
there you go.
There it is. He is so comfortable on this character, right? It's not really a stretch for him, right? You have to respond to random news. We got to figure out what we want to do. Creatives picks it up, doesn't do bad. Envy just has like an insane game, whereas RNG aren't feeling like they need to take this away from Kanga, but this is something that Shadow is probably going to feel most comfortable on, and he's also been called up from the minor league to play here.
You've seen him in the minor league doing huge things on the EV as well. The Leon enters back the EV a little bit. We saw Rock Monkey doing a great job on Serpent Beach in that last set, shutting down the EV on the side of Na'Vi. So the Leon, the Damba, a couple good picks here coming out for Kanga. RNG now entering back with their next 2 picks here. Starting it off, I mean, the Inara is a rock-solid, no pun intended, pick that we've seen pretty consistently all day. The Ruckus, not surprising to see sort of that hybrid tank damage flex. The Kinessa coming out as well.
My question is what this next damage pick is going to be for Kanga, right? Because they still have a decent amount up in the air. There's a lot of flexibility on this Kanga roster because they've gone through a lot of different iterations. But that man right there has never played anything but support. So you have to imagine he's going there to the Maldamba. In the past, Chronix has been incredibly flexible for this team. He's gone from, I believe, a little bit of a small stint on the front line to playing a flex DPS to playing the support. So he's the biggest question mark I have going into this game. I'm still thinking it's likely to be still Joel and Rhino on the front line for Kanga, as Chronix has sort of more recently played DPS for them, but that's a big part of Kanga's roster, is figuring out who is going to solidify into what roles.
Drogos Barrack rounding out the Kanga lineup. Drogos going to be obnoxious there for that Kinessa, so Kanga finding their pressure with the Drogos. Eevee adding some pressure onto the Leon for RNG. Any thoughts either way? Do you give the lineup a thumbs up one way or the other?
I don't say not on paper out of the way. The biggest thing I want to watch for is this Drogos from Kanga. I want to see how do they play, right? Random Noob brought this like very aggressive style Drogos out onto Frog Isle, and I want to see if Kanga steps up to the plate and does something similar.
Well, Frog Isle is going to be where they have to do it. Game 1 of set number 3 here for the PPL day number 1. Let's send it on over to your casters to get things started.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it, buddy. And you know what? What's so funny about this is Hero's actually a pretty big weeb, if you didn't know that. Used to have an anime profile pic. Might still, but Nick got on those pros for a while and said, I won't even follow
He was
you
very, very
if you have an
against it.
anime profile pic.
And I remember he actually enticed him. He's like, if you change your picture
I'll follow you.
to you of a picture
Yeah.
of you at LAN, you will get that follow. And so many people tagged him. I even tagged him because I
you weren't being followed by him
wasn't
at that
followed by
point.
Nick at that point.
That's funny. But a super cool live action cam right there. Shadow, lot to prove. And, I mean, just a great player all around. He's definitely shown that he's got the stuff. But at this level, that's where we're trying to figure that one out. Evil Eyes transition really nicely in with Kanga. And we're first getting to see how this mix of cultures will come together. European, North American, Australian. Boy, oh boy, exciting times here in the PPL. Good wall off by Hero. And that's going to be Joel's falling early.
As of right now, it seems like maybe the stick-together strategy that we've seen. I mean, it's one of those things that some teams do, some teams don't, right?
Yeah.
Renegades staying together, know each other really well at this point, know their playstyles really well. So far, it's working out pretty well. It's 99-0.
And I like that start. Vocal. I mean, this guy had crazy aim online. This guy was carrying games on a losing team. He was literally going 29-6, and their team was losing. And he was carrying that hard.
Imagine when you put him ahead.
Put him ahead, put him on land. I mean, this might be, I mean, aim might be one of the best, maybe the best aimer in all of Paladins. He brings it. And you have to be respecting this man right here. And by man, I mean, you know, 15 to 16-year-old young boy still going to high school.
One day we're going to have a DPS off where we grab Rock Monkey, Hecate, and Vocal. We grab all the guys known for their aim and just be like, all right, put you in this strenuous test scenario, and we need to see how well you can hit these shots. We're going to put you under pressure, let you try it, and because it's so ridiculous how consistent they are, especially once you get to land.
Yeah, and they all seem like really good guys too. I think one of the things about Renegades is they were just so dismayed not having their whole team at land. They felt like they just could not give it their all. They couldn't show what they really believed was a team that could win it. And right now they're showing anything but a lack of ability here in Vocal, Shadow, Moonchopper. Oh my goodness gracious. Interesting to see Moon on this Ruckus as well. You think that's going to be consistent kind of position for him, that off-tank role?
It's definitely a change, and I'm wondering if it's because, they were actually mentioning just before having Shadow around, and Shadow has been very prominent on playing things like the Eevee, like the Blasters, something a little bit more, I guess, where Moonchopper was.
Yeah.
Pretty much right down his exact alley.
Yeah.
So very similar to the Diggy Dog.
No!
Dave's got me doing
Dog.
it. Digi. No, I kept thinking I need to tell him that. Diggy Dog. Just very similar to Diggy Dog's. Digital Dog, Digital Monsters.
The Digital Dog.
It's a very similar swap. If it's going to be permanent, we'll have to see. I guess it depends.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're successful today, I can't think of a reason to swap.
Well, I mean, it's a great look right now for the team, and intelligence-wise, game sense-wise, Moonchopper is of the highest of highs, as well as anybody else in the league. Kanga Esports off to a rough start. They have been given the vote of confidence by nearly everybody in the league, not only because they've got, essentially some of the greatest names in Paladins Esports with Jera on the squad, so that veteranship, but they've got some great talent that's already proven themselves in the PPL, and you can see why here. Osirino now slamming into Shadow. Here's a Dragon Punch. That's going to claim one. Evil Eye gets going, and that's a double kill for Evil Eye.
Being able to set themselves up for this and actually getting super aggressive. I love seeing that kind of positioning from an Ashen with a fast cap, the comeback mechanic, whatever you know it as. This makes it really, really solid for Kanga to be able to get this aggressive, hold that aggression, and maybe put Renegades back in their spawn.
I mean, there's no way we're going to see an easy game because this has not been the easy game day for PPL. And in fact, PPL may not be an easy game. One of the great things about it is when you lessen the amount of teams in the league that are competing, all the talent pools together. It becomes that much more even and can go either way each day. So it makes for some incredible entertainment.
I mean, if you think about it, again, going from 5 teams, I guess, and 2 separate regions,
right,
and the gap between first and fifth in both of them was pretty large, I would say.
Yep.
You pull it, you have 8 teams all in one area, and just based on what we're seeing today, I think the gap between first and 8th is going to be probably as close as maybe first and third in the other leagues that we saw in the last year.
I mean, in Europe, first and fourth was kind of there this year.
Yeah.
And in NA, first and third was a little bit more. But you take one more team and you take those bottom 3 teams across the regions, and then you add Brazil and you add Australia, and you say combine your best players. I mean, this is going to be a competitive league, no doubt about it. A minute and 20 seconds now, and Evil Eye getting going. This is a guy who has a lot of history and a lot of ability backing him, but he has had some off days that he's trying to obviously not have on the debut.
Hitting a lot of these fire spits, being able to kind of set it up around the corner. This is something I was talking about with Dave earlier, actually, on the desk, was the knockback that you get if you're running Combustible. Being able to kind of use that on this map is very, very tangible as a feeling. And right now he's getting good shots, but he just gets locked away.
And I think the pressure here from Shadow is something that's going to be very difficult for Jared to deal with, but he's somehow found a way. Shadow wants this kill, and he still can't get it. Finally, Hero will clean that up. Great support from the Inara. Must have been a pellet from across the way. So 30 seconds left, and it's 2-1 here. Kanga have their chance to push.
Frog Isle is a very, very misleading map. I think in terms of like player skill, team skill, and how they will fare against each other.
Yeah.
I think the only time today that we've seen, and granted we've only seen it twice today until now, first map 4-0, completely misleading compared to how that set's going to go. Second set, it has it go 4-3. I think that's very apt to how those teams would play, and I expect that similar here right now, 2-1, but it's going to go into overtime.
And overtime, as we've seen on Frozen Guard, especially earlier today, can be a dangerous place for a defensive team. The offense, they hit the gas pedal or they hit a stun like that, can absolutely change the dynamic. Jera doing some big boy things, but it's going to get cleaned up. Oh, even a better slither. So hard to kill this guy.
This is going to be a complete aside, and I apologize for it for anyone who's hoping for the breakdown of that fight, but I just realized that this is the first time Jera has been on a team, and I've interviewed someone on the team that wasn't Jera.
That wasn't Jera?
And it just clicked.
You know, you get tired of hearing, how often do you need a George Clooney interview?
There was
or
a point
Chris
for
Evans
like
interview,
Esports
you know?
Weekly, we did like 3 Jera interviews in a row, and I'm like, the third week, I was like, dude, I'm sorry, you're going to hear some very similar questions.
That's actually really funny because that I remember exactly what you're talking about. There's a moment Fnatic had moved before they were in our league, and none of them had webcams. And guess where they were staying? At Fnatic headquarters. You know, the esports gaming place. And none of them had access to a $50 to $100 webcam. It just was, we couldn't put it together. So Jera did his interviews from his phone. It was a marvelous time, of course. And I'm glad that's over, let's just say.
Now he has to do it in person. Speaking of in person, House Rhino going to get up close and personal, but he's going to get yanked out of his ult just barely, not enough to find the kill, but that 800 health is not a lot to live on.
And living is not something that a lot of people are going to be doing right now. It's a bloodbath. 15 streak for Moonchopper, though. That's the one constant in the universe. The unchanged changer. And Joel's will still stay on the point as the Bear. Kanga Esports, 99%. Looking like it could tip over, but Joel's going to cede that territory, knowing he's got what they came for, the 6th man. So now they have to have one person on the point, Gore, at all times. Otherwise, Kanga, they step on it. They win this one.
Well, so far, Moonchopper's been not dying a lot. You keep him around the point, and I feel like you'll find success, or he'll find his first death. Either way, a Hexafire going to come through, try to find the damage that he can onto Rhino, but it's not enough to get the kill just yet, and he actually returns it onto Moonchopper.
And Rhino gets a little healing from Jera as well. Beautiful stuff. And Shadow's just going to blink in. He goes for the sword, blinks right back. Rhino was tracking where he was. The healing from Viral, it's super strong. We can take a look at some of the healing charts as well, because, man, he has got to be setting a pace 40,000 ahead. But he's getting all these knockoffs, man. Rhino's playing well.
That knockoff onto Viral, that was 100% a, I am tired of dealing with you.
I'm just tired.
I'm tired of you being here. I have been shooting an 1,800 health Eevee for 30 seconds, and she is not dead. You need to get out of this fight, get out of my area. Let me take this 1v1. And then they still didn't even shut her down.
They still didn't even kill her. You know, it's been fantastic to see Shadow play this big today. And it's only game 1. Evil Eye pressured out. Oh, beautiful shot. The Ice Storm was icing on the cake. And he gets another one.
And these shots are just so good. Finally loses his streak, very similar to what we saw. And Vocal still on his 18 streak going up, but the shots from Renegades, the presence from Renegades is kind of ever present. Even if Kanga are able to get this point and tie it up, you kind of have to wonder how much can they do without the comeback mechanic helping, speed up the point fight when you have a sniper that is so far so good as Invocal has been on this map.
And I think Invocal is... Oh, nice shot from Chronix there. Good readjustment. And finds the presence reset. Shadow's got to be careful, and Chronix has to help deal with this threat, because Shadow has just been causing way too many problems. And Chronix has not been able to really apply that damage consistently. It's a long-range convergence, and it's going to pull Jera, but he's going to make it out alive.
Just looking for the defense. We mentioned this earlier on Frog Isle, but admittedly, this is not a long push. It's a very short map. 50 seconds is more than enough time to die and come back and push
baby.
as you keep going.
Oh, and that was a big presence score. He got to. Chronix now stepping up when they need it. It could be 3-3. I'm not sure they're going to be able to get back in touch here. Moon's going to try.
They might be in the same mindset. I mean, again, looking at this, they're like, you know what? 3-3. We've been winning the point fights when they're even, not when they're skewed against us. Let's just let them have it. Go to this last round, have our ults, keep ourselves kind of confident, don't lose any crazy streaks, and reposition, try to figure out what we are doing wrong.
Great shots.
He's so good.
Yeah.
I don't
shots.
think I'm ever going to get tired of watching these guys play Leon, Cassie, snipers. Like, I genuinely, in the next 13 weeks, I'm going to be waking up every single morning looking forward to it.
And I see a close-up of Viral there. Man from Miami. I'm going to Miami.
I was thinking the exact
Welcome
same
to
song.
Party in the city where the heat is on all night on the beach till the break of dawn. A little bit of a different tone there, okay? The one time the band is not with me. I appreciate their efforts nonetheless. At least they're on time. 6 in the clip. Now 2. It's 3-3. 24% counting here. Evil Eye. Oh, getting busy, baby. Triple kill for the Draken. Kanga Esports. They shut down Renegades, and this may be it. There's still a chance. There's still ultimates as well as a seismic crash score, and about 5%. That could be big.
Doing whatever they can. Hexifire's available, but there's no good position to try and pop it off in Evil Eye. He's going to peek around the wall, and he's going to be able to get a lot, and that's 99%.
Oh, my.
They just never got there.
They can't touch.
I don't even know if they got to see what the point looked like during the last round.
They didn't. That was incredible. Great zone. I mean, Combustible did everything there. And especially with the Ashe, the zoning was strong. You could see the smiles, Jera and Evil Eye, and a little Australian sandwich.
And you can tell from Jera.
Meat lovers, but cultural style.
But Jera, I think, again, kind of, I want to say unsung hero. We looked a little bit more at Frontlines earlier, and the supports are always ever present. They're always healing, but I feel like Jera has this tangible play when he's on Maldamba because he hits so many suns so consistently, and there were so many moments there where it's like, well, okay, this guy's going to die. Or not, I guess. He's just going to go ahead and stay alive 30 more seconds, 40 more seconds than he's supposed to, and it's all just Jera sitting back. He's like peeking over the hill just enough to get the snake beams out.
This is a little scary. Because normally when I see teams like Renegades have that dominant performance on Frog Isle, it's hard to give it up and then lose again. They look like it was just Kanga not warmed up, finally got warmed up, and now they are rolling. This could be interesting heading into Game 2. Let's break it down at the desk.
Yep. Happy faces on the side of Kanga as you see into their player booth right there. And coming back off of a very fast 0-2 on that map. I don't think that they had a single kill. I think RNG had streaks across the boards, but Kanga able to flip it, find their groove a little bit, find their feet underneath them, and push back after that.
So if we look at both of these teams have changed 2 players, right? You look at Kanga adding Evil Eye and Gara, 2 guys from teams that were more successful and more experienced than them. Renegades added 2 guys from teams that were less successful and less experienced than they were. So that's where I'm leaning towards, like, you're obliterating Kanga in that first round. Like, what even was that? That was insane from the Renegades. And then it's like, what happens, right? When keeping it real goes wrong, who is there to step up and say, okay, this is what's happening, guys. We need to kind of band together, rally, and make sure that this does not continue to be the landslide defeat that it ended up being for the Renegades. I'm honestly looking at their coach. I'm looking at Powtek because he's coached for both of the teams that G2 and that Fnatic roster last season. So you need to kind of be that guy that I think steps up and brings that experience. That's the dude that they've added that has more experience on the winning side of these matches. He knows what it's like to be in the winner's corner. He knows what those comms sound like. What do they sound like when they're drafting? How are they communicating in game, in scrims, stuff like that. So to me, that's a bit of a breakdown. When you come out swinging that hard and go up 2-0 in like 30 seconds, and then it just flip-flops and looks completely like a black and white different game, that's a little bit scary for me.
It's tough looking at those post-game stats too, because if you take it strictly at a slash line face value, it actually looks like Renegades would have run away with that game. But then you have Evil Eye, 1.3 KDA. That's not a huge KDA, but he found the important kills. He found the multi-kills. He found the dragon punches that mattered at the right time. And is that really the difference maker here? Just better team fights at more important times over maybe more scattered team fighting on the other side?
Obviously, losing very quickly in the first round, you don't get the whole picture until you do start to get ultimates available, and you get to see, all right, what does this full team fight start to look like? And it is a little bit different coming down the stretch. But the thing now for Renegades is you can't tilt, you can't really freak out. Recognize again, I've been harping on this all day. It's best of 7s, and this is a 13-week phase. So each matchup doesn't carry quite as much weight as it probably would have in splits past. The big thing is that these are going to be long sets as well. So if you don't come out and you don't do so hot out of the gate, recognize that you have a ton of time to come back into this and get things going your way again.
So taking a peek at Bright Marsh for map number 2, I think only the second time that we've seen it here today. Do you expect anything from a map like Bright Marsh? I mean, compared to a map like Frog Isle, from what you saw in game number 1, does it look like either team's play style may fit better here into Bright Marsh?
Well, this is going to be the Renegades map pick, so the fact that the Kanga doesn't come out, as hard as they probably would have. A lot of teams have 4-0'd on their map pick today. This is the big telling factor of the rest of the set. If Kanga win this game, then it's looking a little shaky for Renegades for sure. But I think the Renegades, this is their map pick. They need to kind of lock this draft down, get exactly what they want. Maybe it's the Eevee again. Eevee has worked in the past here. That's going to be something they'll look to leverage off of throughout the day. But I will say playing it into the Leon, which was very on point from Chronix, I might add, is going to be something worth noting. Eevee is not a pick and forget, right? You cannot plug and play that champion necessarily. You need to have some good matchups, some good targets for you to isolate down, and the map is important. But again, I did say, Bright Marsh does work for Eevee.
I mean, if you're on the side of RNG, again, I mean, it's almost, you almost just say, all right, more of the same. I mean, there's not too much to change up there. It just happened to kind of fall apart towards the end. But when you saw the stats towards the end of the game, you saw the impact that the players were having, there's just one little piece that was missing there, and you touched on a few of those. So you don't imagine too much difference coming out from the side of RNG in this one. I think these same exact bans from game number 1, Inara Damba, so pretty standard first couple picks here from Kanga, not giving away too much on Bright Marsh. But now it's on RNG's side to really control this draft and set the pace.
And Evil Eye's been a very, very flexible player. The Drogos was okay on Frog Isle. It definitely worked for them. Now that Renegades have the Leon, I think they have to go to something different, and I think they absolutely can and will go to the Bomb King. I think that's been a big, big part of Evil Eye's arsenal in the past, as well as Eevee is not something they would stay away from. But again, looking at these matchups, if I'm Evil Eye, I'm picking Bomb King into this so far, 10 times out of 10. I don't think there's really any other way to cut this one. For Kanga, though, looking at these next couple of picks, they do still have an aggro tank to potentially pick up. If it's going to be Fernando is the question, or what else they elect to do. Maybe it's a Ruckus. History would tell me to lean a little bit more towards Ruckus because they do want to keep, I think, that aggression up. And given what Tolkien said in our interview, he's just not that tank anymore. They already have an R. They already have their point tank locked down. So
Eevee
it is going to be that Eevee, though, for Kanga.
So they take away the Eevee. Might not have come out anyway on the side of RNG. And then the Ruckus between the last two tanks that you kind of highlighted. So Inara Damba, Eevee, Ruckus. It's a pretty potent lineup starting things off here for Kanga. RNG obviously having picks 4 and 5 here, able to round it out in the way that they see fit. Is there anything missing from the RNG lineup that you think they fill in here?
I mean, they might be able to go
Cassie?
for a Bomb King as well. They have a very flexible backline in Shadow and in Vocal. I'm gonna go for the Genos. That's a little strange to me. That's the point where I'm saying, oh, okay. Normally, we've only seen this picked in those more aggressive lineups where you want to be supplementing the luminary damage onto your backliners. And though bonus damage is never bad on anyone, it's just not as necessary feeling as it is. This Renegades lineup doesn't exactly ring out to we need to call for this. The one thing I will say is that you're not going to get anything done against Sonara Damba on the objective. So you got to win that fight elsewhere, and I think that's probably what they're going to be looking to do.
And actually, Shaolin coming through again. We saw him on Bright Marsh in our last set, and he did huge things. Granted, it was in the hands of Rock Monkey, who can make many of these snipery-type champions look good.
Yeah.
I assume you like Shaolin still here on Bright Marsh? Or
yeah, I think
wishy-washy?
it's fine. It's good when the player is confident to play it, right? That's just the spot Shaolin is in right now. And I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure who's going to be playing what for this Kanga roster. I would lean a little bit more towards Evil Eye on the Eevee and Chronix on the Shaolin, but again, Evil Eye has played so much in his time in Paladins. It's a little tough to call on the first day.
Well, jumping into game number 2, Bright Marsh is going to be your battleground. Paladins house band strumming away in the back. Evan, Gore, take it away.
Thank you so much, Dave. It is time for game 2 here. Kanga, Renegades, Bright Marsh. That's where the battle will reside. And we've got Jera back on that Damba, giving his team those sexy heals.
And Kanga, just as a whole, last game being able to show a lot of resilience, going from a 2-0 deficit and being able to claw, I guess is a better word, back into the game to take it as a victory. I'm interested to see if not one, can they do it again, or if this time they can just maintain a lead from the beginning.
Well, that's going to be important. Evil Eye now on the Eevee, flexing his stuff. Those 2 shots were not the flex that he wanted, though, starting out this game, but still got to get warm. I can imagine that this hasn't been his preference over the course of many a season. High drop bodies is typically the Eevee player there, but was unable to do so due to ping. But he knows his way around the champion here. 60% for Kanga. Meanwhile, Renegades haven't really gotten going.
First Blood finally going to come out a little bit later than you typically see in Vocal, taking down Chronix, but Evil Eye answers back with Shadow. The presence on the point is going to be coming from a Nara hero. Point and pushed away. Those turrets not doing enough healing, not getting enough healing from the backline either to keep him ever present.
99% will inevitably tick over unless something can change here. Chopper looks one shot away, and he certainly is. Nice blink there, gets on top of the ridge. It's a good fight. Shadow gets walled off. Evil Eye's going to chase it, though. I like the aggressiveness. Watch out, though. That Cassie, she does damage. Dodge roll right into a blast from the Ice Staff.
Might send him back to the base to regroup with his team, but it does stagger him out, so they're going to be able to get a little bit of room early on this push without having to deal with a Cassie, without having to deal with any pressure. It's Hero and Moonchopper. Really solid front lines so far. Moonchopper this time around on the Ashe. Again, not something that I think we've seen him on in the past. So I'm interested to see. I mean, again, I expect this change to be permanent, but I'm wondering how effective it's going to be. So far as front line, I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but it just hasn't been as much, I think, from the back line to kind of raise the expectations of why you would put him down there.
Yeah, I mean, all of these things start to come to light as well, and the players, they do things that sometimes you don't think feels practiced, but it is, and these scrims, we don't see them, so we have to assume. And sometimes it does, unfortunately, do the traditional thing that saying continues on to say. I'm not going to say it for broadcast relation, but so far, so good. I will say Kanga Esports have been dominant, and that was my concern about that first matchup, that maybe they just started slow, and now once they picked up the pace, there's going to be no chance between these 2 teams. Renegades nearly having a pulse in that last one. Not to be rude, but just didn't feel like they could get going.
It definitely feels like on the other side of things, Kanga is very much in that rhythm, right? They not only get themselves up from that deficit during the last game, but they come in and they're already dominating. Shaolin specifically has been a player that is interesting to look at just because 5-1. He's been relatively void online, even when we were looking at last year, but let alone the PML, the PCL, whatever play you're looking at from this year, he hasn't really been hanging out either. And now all of a sudden on LAN, 5-1-0 here was played by Moonchopper, or Rock Monkey earlier. And so being able to make that presence and kind of switch from the, well, maybe he's not in the conversation to back into it has been impressive.
Wow. Okay. So we're going to continue with the band playing a little out of tune behind us here. And I think we were going to try to get that audio fixed for you guys. And so Jules is in a good position to hold down for now. Moonchopper jumping up and jumping down. So he will plant the flag. And Vokal's in an interesting spot, though. Has a good angle, but is also trapped. And so if they do aggress onto that, it could be bad news bears. But he's going to make it out alive. Good shots there. Renegades answering back in kind. And another shot from Invokal. That is going to do the deed. Rhino isolated and turned into dust. So that's a full wipe for Kanga here.
I mean, it's a literal mirror of what we saw last game. Last game, you have Renegades coming out on top, find the 2-0, and then they start to find the falter. And this time around, you flip it over. Kanga come out really strong. And once they're up 2-0, they just aren't able to maintain that lead. And this time around, it's Invokal making that big kind of sweep. And I'm excited to see, again, the switch from a sniper, Kinessa, now to the Leon. Not very different play styles, but he's getting aggressive with it. He's kind of getting in their faces.
And, you know, when you have that style of aggressiveness, I think you're going to see some big payoffs or you're going to see some big losses. And right now they've seen that big loss in round 1, but maybe it was more of a lack of direction. I feel like when Shadow has started to pop off, when Invokal has also started to pop off, things look pretty good for the Renegades. Moonchopper isn't really the issue for this team, even though he's flexing maybe onto a different role than we've seen him when we last saw him in competitive play. I feel that this is a Renegades team that shouldn't be counted out. They do have the stuff. They just... do they have it all together today? And is Kanga more prepared to be able to take this win?
And it's one of those things, after talking to both of them at the very beginning of the set, you're looking at Kanga saying, you know what, like we've really only been able to practice like this week.
Yeah.
Because Jera was in a different time zone, essentially across the world from them.
I know.
And they had the ping from Australia to NA, EU to Australia. Like wherever they're trying to connect, someone's going to have way too much ping. So there's not a lot of room for online practice for them. And then Renegades are like, yeah, we didn't have a full roster until like yesterday that we were able to finally sit down and play with. So practice in this set, like the longer the set goes, the better the teams are going to look. That's just usually fact, but it's mainly for them because they finally get to like sit down and play with each other.
All right, well, we are continuing to fix this this audio issue, and it feels like it has been resolved, so we can get back into the game. Currently, Kanga trying to push and establish themselves on this point that they're hoping to be able to use to tie up the game against the, Renegades, to tie up the game against Kanga, because Kanga have come out swinging 2-0 on Bright Marsh. It's one of those difficult maps to really find the pace on, especially if you are on the back foot. But so far, so good from Shadow and Viral. And that's going to be a secure point.
And you don't normally, again, when I think of Frog Isle, when I think of Bright Marsh, I think 4-0s.
Yeah,
I think
do.
maybe 4-1s.
Yeah.
Not often do you see a team even just even it up at 2-2,
right,
let alone to go to a 4-2, push a 4-3. That's the rarities, and that's typically a sign that the two teams you're watching are very, very close in skill. And so that's what you're seeing here. Kanga have that ability to dominate over Renegades. Renegades have that same ability to dominate over Kanga, and it's just who gets that leg up. That first blood has mattered so much in these fights that whoever gets it tends to just steamroll through.
And if they can continue to apply that pressure core, it's going to make a world of difference. And it does feel like you're right. The pace, when it's being set, is the thing that's, causing the results here in this game. And the reaction team, the team that kind of shoots second, is the team that is losing. Boss Rhino holding down with the Inara here. 1:33 left to go. And good aggression from Hero, trying to clean it up. Shadow's going to find Jera there. And boy, oh boy, Renegades, just like that, tie it up. Great adjustment. And looking dangerous again.
And just like we saw during the last game, although maybe turned up an extent, streaks are burning for Renegades. 10-8, 13-12, and then 14. 8-2 and 8 right now is Invokal. So he's able to find this pressure. He's able to find these kills. And again, a lot of it has been, I'm going to sit back and find those shots, but he's not afraid to get into their face, and I think that's the big thing about it. Kinessa, like on the last map, you can't really do that. You can try to make that decision. You are not going to usually find success if you make that decision.
Yeah.
But Leon has that flexibility, and Invocal has that mentality that he can bounce around. It's very similar to what we see out of Rock Monkey.
And I think if you have this guy popping off, you're going to be in a good spot, no matter what. No matter where you're in, you're going to give yourself a chance to win with a player playing at his competitive caliber as Invocal. 9% here. Already Kanga Esports on the point. So now Invocal's got to find something. There's some damage on the top available. There's Nice Storm from Eevee as well. That's going to start things off and force Renegades into a bit of a weird spot. Kanga Esports have control of the map right now and control of the point.
Doing whatever they can. Joel's up on the high ground in a good spot as Ruckus and has a Hexafire available. But no one on Renegades. Like, it almost feels as though they don't know the point exists. It's 75% to nothing right now, and Kanga are just keeping them locked away.
I mean, this was like the first point, and this was like the point with Renegades. It is so weird. These teams just, it's almost like they give up.
It's 100 or nothing.
It's 100 or nothing. It's crazy. And so it's an interesting dynamic between these two teams. Very unlike the Na'Vi Envy, because in Na'Vi and Envy you had these tighter sets towards the end, these tighter maps. But then you also had, 4-0, 4-0. 4-0, 4-0, back-to-back, 4-0. But this is a weird 3-3 potential here, or a 3-2, or a 4-2 potentially. As within the same game, they are trading points.
It definitely has a feeling behind it that I think that we're seeing Renegades, and I don't even want to say warm up, because we saw them on fire at the very beginning of the last game. Like, they were using those streaks. They had them for a reason. Here, it is very much like you said, where it almost feels like the pressure lapses.
Yeah.
They recognize maybe we can't get in there. Maybe we need to take this fight. Like, it's one of those things, and we've talked about it in the past for some of the console teams, some of the minor league teams, but very similar to, you're focused on the fight, not on the game. The game is going to be based around that objective. Kanga being able to capture that 100 to 0, 100 with you picking up nothing, never contesting, potentially never even seeing the point.
Nice shots there as well. And Vocal turned into Shaolin. Just kidding, but he does play some Shaolin here and there. But that was an incredible shot. Are you kidding me? The flick, 180. This man is on fire.
The flick of the wrist.
Look at the flick of the wrist. And at this point, this is getting dangerous, because Renegades, they've made some nice shots, some good plays, and Vocal did skate out of that one. But if he goes down right here, this could turn into a conversion and game over faster than you think. 43 seconds left. Almost body blocked the Ashe there. Joel's up in a corner, but Joel's finds two. This is terrible for the Renegades. He's going to find a third here with the help of Chronix, and luckily Jera goes down. That is the big key that they're looking for. Viral will fall, though, and although they don't have a support, they have 3 healthy members on Kanga Esports to try to push this one in.
3 healthy members, 4 healthy, fully charged ultimates ready to just pop whenever they come through. Hexafire is the one my eye's been on, because Jules has been waiting to pull that trigger until the right moment. And I can't think of a better moment than overtime trying to push this in. Finally, a Heat Haze could come through to try and get the push going. But there's a lot of potential here for Kanga, and they're about to go into overtime to find it.
And Jera needs to give Shadow just a little bit of a heal. Beautiful stuff. And are you kidding me? They find the kill. Hero picks off Rhino. They cannot get the overtime. Oh boy, I wonder if that was a bit of an accident, or the fact that they just are confident letting that go and taking it to the 3-3. Little look at Moonchopper and Vocal and Viral there in your cameras. Followed by Shadow and Hero. There's Joel's. Next to him, towards his right, is Jera. Viral trying to figure out the plan for this one, because they've either gotten it real right or real wrong.
And coming into this, I mean, that one, I'm not even sure that you can give Renegades full credit for that defense coming through. They killed the Inara.
Right.
I think Kanga didn't recognize that Inara was going to die that fast, because admittedly, you never know how fast or how slow Inara is going to die. Is she going to live forever?
Yeah.
Is Jera on point with his heals? Is it going to be something that's just constantly pumped up? Or does Joel's need to jump in there now? And you could see him getting onto it just a little bit too late. But they still have their ults. They actually have an Ice Storm charged up. And now, how can they deal with Moonchopper?
I mean, that was an interesting choice. I know he went up to go to the high ground, but he actually wastes a dash to go and get stunned by Moonchopper. And now Moonchopper is actually in a pretty good position. And I think Joel's had the right idea, but the execution of it did not pay dividends for him and his team. This is not looking good. Kanga Esports lose 2 here, and Vocal on that double kill. Looking to make it a triple. He will. And he's going to slay the support. 33% now as they try to zone out.
Have a Dread Serpent, have an Ice Storm, but the Seismic Crash, as well as the Heat Haze, as well as the Hexafire, not finding the mark they wanted, not being able to connect the way they wanted to. Whereas on the other side, 3 time in space, you have a lot of shots, and Evil Eye's going to get taken out before he can even do anything.
And that's Leon, baby. That's the presence of mind, the presence of aim. And Osrino is going to have to back off through time and space. Oh, beautiful wall. It actually shuts him down, but there's the Enlightenment. And Kanga Esports get taken down. Renegades, they're going to clap back and grab the victory here in game number 2 to tie up the set.
And again, boxing back and forth, recognizing maybe we shouldn't take this fight, and maybe going further than we would see out of a team like Na'Vi or Envy, but still looking at it and being like, you know what, guys? We lost this point. Let's hang back. Let's see what we can do. Look at the defense, and that's where Renegades so far have been sitting and so far been able to find success.
Now, I can see Osrino talking a little bit. One of the things I like to do is look at these expressions. I like to look at who's talking, and I also like to look at what's not there. And Hades, on his way, we saw him actually walking in the hallway. Maybe they were waiting to hear from the coach, see what went wrong. I'm sure they rely on him and his feedback quite often to make decisions and to help guide their direction. And there he is right there. Let's send it back to the desk and see what they have to say, as this one's all tied up yet again.
Knotted up at ones. We are RNG finding the win here on Bright Marsh. Looking there at Coach Powtek. Got some stats on his phone, looking to make the changes for his team, but it's been such a feast or famine game almost for RNG, and they just hope they end on the feast. It's like, from what it's looked like, they've either been sweeping with 0 deaths, 5 streaked out members, or just losing completely, and it's a weird balance.
Yeah, kind of a weird ending there for sure. Like, it's like that pick at the perfect moment, so there's no overtime as well on the almost final push there for Kanga Esports. That's a tough way to go out of that round. I'm sure that they had kind of a plan in place. You have like this grand design for how the overtime is going to go, and then it just falls flat on his face. But it is a good sign for the Renegades that they do get this one, because remember that it was their map pick. And if you're not getting one of the first 2 games, then you're in kind of a rough spot, in my opinion. If you're leading with your best foot forward and still losing, that's where things get dire. So we will have ourselves a good set here. I will say one thing that is probably going to make this set pretty difficult for the Renegades is the fact that Kanga can play their picks, right? When you looked at that last set, Envy could take Fernando like whenever they wanted, right? To just like keep something open, right? We're going to take this Fernando now. We can take it whenever we want because they're never going to take it. Now that Evil Eye has shown that he can and will grab the Eevee up, that's one more thing Renegades have to worry about being taken away from them. No Bomb King so far this set either, which is very surprising to me, right? Evil Eye and Shadow are both incredible, and hell, even Invocal and Moonchopper in his day. Like, a lot of good Bomb King players across the board in this set. A point that Evan brought up that I think is really good to harp on again is that even when SK were getting obliterated in the PPL last season, Invocal still found a way to not only be positive, but to be like that level of 18-4 positive. It's insane.
And him and Shadow, the Leon Cassie stack was sort of the storyline to follow this game. Obviously, 1-4 and 23 on Viral's huge. The rest of the players on the team playing a big role, but Cassie 9-5 and 11 as well, but Invocal on this Leon, I think, found the right picks at the right time. Some beautiful shots, some beautiful hits of his abilities, just really turned the tide here. It makes you think if Kanga will potentially try to force him onto something a little less comfortable in the future.
I keep thinking about Bomb King, man, and I'm watching the first clip of that round of replays, and then almost the final team fight where Evil Eye was coming back in was the only chance Kanga had to bring that 3-3 fight back their way. And again, it's a 1K plus presence that just plugs Evil Eye for more than half his HP before he even blinks in. He doesn't even. It's like his brain is already pressing Q to blink in, but he doesn't realize that he's taking 1,000 damage, or maybe he does, and it's too late. That's the scary part about what Invocal was able to do there. But then again, that's that matchup, right? Leon into Eevee is fine for Leon, and Leon players all day have just been handling the matchup beautifully.
That's actually, it's a good point. Game 1, Kanga had the Leon on their side, and they were playing against the Eevee Kinessa, and then they ended up winning map number 1 here. You see it flipped. The script is flipped, and RNG snags the win. Serpent Beach is going to be our 3rd map. Another map that lends itself to Leon play, to Eevee play, to Cassie play. So it'll be interesting to see if the teams decide to mix up the picks a little bit, because there have been pretty standard I don't know, 12 champions in these last 2 games, just flipping sides a little bit.
Yeah, Eevee is still something to look at this set for sure, and that's another mark of a good team, is that when you lose with something, the next game to be able to pick yourself up and say, okay, we did lose, but it wasn't because
without abandoning
of
it,
this, right? And you have to make sure that you're not, getting shook off certain picks that are going to be good moving forward. And Serpent Beach is a pretty important map for Eevee, and this is going to be a pretty, I think, highly contested set for her as well. But almost before you start to talk about Eevee, you need to look out for Leon in the draft. And teams that are picking Leon early might just be trying to set up for an Eevee later, while having the dual effect of being able to deter their enemies from picking it.
You wonder if the Leon will come out early on here. Ash, Leon, early on? That's kind of funny. There's something there. I'll have to dig into that at some point.
Ash has been a big part of this set as well. I think both these teams really, really want Ash as well.
No, definitely. And
even with Nara open.
I think this is the 3rd time. Yeah, it will be the 3rd time in a row that these 4 bans are these same bans across the board. So Ash, one of the remaining really good, really high priority front lines, digging deep into their time here is RNG, really giving some thought to their first couple of picks. And Nara's going to be number 1, while Damba's going to be number 2. So nothing too interesting coming out here for picks 1, 2,
This is the
and 3.
Brightmarsh strash, just flip-flop so far, so we'll have to see what Kanga will like to head on into next. Cassie, Leon, still been pretty big for them. Hero throwing in a fresh piece of gum, and that's scary for Kanga.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
Especially what looks like Spearmint. Keeps that cool breath.
I mean, he's playing the Inara. He's going to be spearheading a lot of these attacks, and he's got to be fresh.
There is the Leon, though. On a serious note, the Leon comes out, followed by a Barrack. So that sets up Kanga, at least initially, with a really good core. Makes RNG decide if they want to return to something like the Eevee, maybe answer back with a little range of their own. The Cassie's available. They do end up going with the Eevee, so they feel comfortable picking Eevee into Leon, despite it not working out in either of the two games, previously in this set.
I'm going to grab the Fernando as well against what Tolki's advice would lead us to believe that character is meant to do this season. Now, the next question is, what's going to be the pick for Evil Eye here? I think there is a... Now, actually, I'm going to go back on that statement. I don't think there's really a timeline where Evil Eye ends up playing this Leon. He did play it for G2 a little bit, but no Bomb King so far today. Saris will be the pickup for the support side of things. Drogo's potential here, and it will go ahead and go that way. Bomb King can get on the high ground here, but you saw the way Random Noob was really able to just fly, man. Just flying around, and Renegades respond with something equally as nice.
Kinessa. I like the Kinessa pick here. I mean, you argue that Leon fills sort of the same snipery long-range shoes as the Kinessa, as the Strix. You got to watch out for the Drogos. I mean, that's really your threat. On the flip side, the threat to the Leon is the Eevee blinking in and out. I think both teams did a pretty good job of picking something for their own strengths and answering back the strengths of the other lineup.
It's definitely a balanced food chain right now, and I think it's going to be a little bit of a domino effect, right? Whoever gets that pick, whether it's Kinessa killing Drogos or Leon killing Eevee, whoever gets that critical first couple of picks is going to really run away with some of these fights.
Taking a peek, answering a phone call. Actually, a really nice pair of shoes he has there. Looking at the lineups for RNG and Kanga. Jumping into game number 3 on Serpent Beach. Let's see how it plays out. But to tell us about it, here are your casters.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Nick. We're excited. If you can't tell, it's been a doozy thus far. 14 Paladins games today.
So far.
And we have... I detected a sense of...
No, that's like...
Oh,
that is,
I misread that? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's so far there's been 14. There's potential to go to, 19, I guess, since this one could go 7.
I guess it could. It's definitely a best of 5 now. They've basically tied it all up 1-1. Serpent Beach will now be a differentiator. Curious to see how this Eevee can continue to perform, trying to hit the toes. And he might get a little bit more than that, but she gets healed up. That Saris is doing so much work, but he's isolated her, and it's allowed Invocal to find the first kill on Necronix, and this is going to open up so much room for Shadow to operate.
And being able to kind of get this pressure, not only allow Shadow to have this space, but now Knessa's an ever-present threat. That forces everyone to play in those areas where, admittedly, it's going to make it easier for Shadow to find those hits. I mean, even right there,
Whoa.
Eevee should not be hitting Drogos like this. You should be looking down. You should see her. But Evil Eye just now becoming aware of her presence.
And great stuff here. And the salvo, unfortunately, just clips Shadow. And the blink is on cooldown. He might just use it to get some healing right now, which means it could be off as well. He's going to grab Hero here, and he's just going to stay up in the sky. The healing is so good from Jera, man. This Saris has been the real game saver here, at least in this point.
Invocal looking for the shots. Not going to be able to find it, but they have 96%. You were talking about that 6-man earlier, and that's essentially what it's going to be. Someone has to stay on that point. Someone has to fight it, and you can't be taking shots. Barrick, unfortunately, has nowhere else he can stand and feel safe. Full heal.
Wow.
From the Saris, though, is going to make it a lot easier to come back.
I didn't think we were running Solar Blessing Fury out here. That looked like the exact amount of healing a Solar Blessing Fury would have. But Shadow shuts that down. I think that is the only thing that's been saving this point fight for Kanga Esports. They have not found the kills themselves. The pressure has been with Invocal and with Shadow. And he's going to turn it from a triple kill into a potential quadra here. He's going to spray on him. Renegades, they are taking this map by storm.
And being able to find that control, kick it off, and maintain it. That's the thing that both of these teams like. The first round, it's been 2-0s every single time. This is what I want to see out of Renegades. It's not just this performance, it's this performance consistently. Can they hold on to it? Can they keep this going? Shadow gets clipped right now, gets taken down, but he's still going to be able to come in, soar around, find his flight a little bit later. And the question is whether or not Kanga can potentially stall that pressure from Renegades.
And Invocal, I don't think has died yet. 5 streak, 1-0-4. One of the best parts about that fight was when he forced Trolls off, because it was basically, you're going to step to the king right now, he says to Evil Eye, who had tried and realized that this is not a man to be tested with his aim. But he forced Trolls off. And Knessa brings this level of, I cannot attach myself to the point like maybe a Cassie would, where I can dive in, shoot, dive out, and still be safe to delay the retake or delay the point pushing forward. But she has so much damage that she could force somebody off like she did earlier. Evil Eye finding Hero, and he's going to try to get away.
And that's such an interesting call. Dread Serpent actually going to take Drogos out of the air. Invocal goes up to the high ground the minute he sees Drogos leave it. Unfortunately, puts himself in a position to continue getting knocked around and does get taken down for the first time this game. But that's going to open up a lot more room for Kanga to be able to find a little bit of space and a little bit of breathing room for the next minute.
That was a really good heal, man. Viral found him mid-flight, and with a little bit of Swift Witch in the loadout. Unfortunately, Evil Eye does not realize there's a dragon in the sky above him. Moonchopper, though, crucial pickup. And now Invocal, what can he do here? He's trying to find the support. This is risky, but he gets healed up right back again. Barrick, basically all head, half box, and that's going to turn Viral into a viral sensation and tell Invocal what? Oh, no. He transports off the map, and what could have been a push here is now a little delayed. I don't think that was intentional.
Whether or not the rest of the team can keep on pushing is going to make the difference. So having a Knessa there pumping in, 1,200 plus shots would definitely be able to help you. But it's definitely looking like that might have turned this right into Kanga's defense. There's still 5 seconds left to be able to go get overtime. Fernando's around, so they're going to be able to touch and get it. Do they have the pushing power?
He wanted to give him a chance. He said, you know what, you guys can't do this if I'm shooting you.
Fake him out.
Let's give you a chance. They're like, where is he? He's still behind us? Like, where'd he go? Where is he? Check rooms. And they're like, oh no, he actually is dead. And Vogel is back in action, though. He's worked so hard. Why not go for a little vacation? Overtime's going to take away what would have been, what could have been, what still might be. They're going to be wanting that one back for sure. And Vogel with a rare mistake. And it's going to cost them the 2-0.
And it's just this interesting area where if he doesn't fall off there, that probably does turn into a push.
Right? I think so.
But at the same time, what are the other 4 members of Renegades doing that the minute Invocal is not there, the pressure stops? There was nowhere for him to come back to.
I can hear that. I think too, the way Renegades are playing, it's very centered around Invocal doing that. I mean, they can't really make this work without that sniper overperforming.
Sure.
And that's the thing that Bugsy would bring to the table. We'd see Alex play this as well, and he'd do a really good job at it. And I think Invocal is obviously somebody who is going to just give you that pop-off performance and maybe give you that, that inflated value of damage that you wouldn't necessarily see for most DPS players. Good stuff from Chronix, though. It's time for him to shine. He's been a little bit of a quiet one in this set. Evil Eye readying up the Dragon Punch, but he's going to die. Invocal with a double kill, a triple kill from Invocal, making up for the mistakes of last round. He almost finds himself a Quadra, and that is going to put Renegades in an even better spot now to take the second point.
I mean, literally kills off 3, sets the other 2 up. I think Shadow is able to help take down Barrack with the rest of the team, but that last shot on Liana was just like, okay, she's over there, just go clean her up.
Yeah.
You have a broom. If he was running the skin, he would have a broom.
Just
but
go ahead.
Still, mentality's going to be there. Sweep it up. Make sure you come through with the clean. 93-9. Poor Joel's doesn't know what hit him.
Oh my God, Invocal. This is nutty, man. And you could tell, you know why we said this guy has, he could have the best aim in Paladins. It's possible that he has the best. Like, Rock Monkey and Mutu, they're great, but Invocal is doing this on teams that aren't World Championship teams and having no issues whatsoever. Can't wait to see the KDA. We have some player things. We're going to come back in and talk to us for a little bit, as obviously we see Invocal putting on what a freaking show here in the PPL. Our last set of the day, to catch everyone up who has been watching. Obviously, we have had 2 sets. They've been fantastic. We've seen NIP kind of start with a blast of a 6 series set against the Knights, and that was, for me, one of the most impressive performances from the Knights' perspective as well, to keep things interesting against a juggernaut.
And a lot of today has admittedly been surprising for me, just because it has been, watching the Knights come and prove themselves way more than I thought they were going to. Like, I was looking at that set and I'm like, 4-1, maybe 4-2. Like, if the Knights are playing really well, and then they played really well, I'm like, this could go 7 games. Like, this could be a 4-3. The same thing went for set number 2. I'm like, man, Na'Vi, they've got a sub. Like, you're telling me that this is going to last forever? No. Envy should take this.
So
I to hold it took a while.
You're right. And I don't remember if this is the play. It might not have been. No, this could be it, because his transport is going to come up very soon. Finds this, drops down. I think he was, I think he basically started shooting Barrack. This is looking like the setup that might be it. This is actually not a replay here. This is actually live. Sorry, we must have switched.
It's just Invocal. They're doing
off.
the same dance.
My bad. I'm like, is this the replay or is it, wow, what's happening here? You know what? You know why I thought it was a replay? I'm like, in my mind, Renegades are already 3-1 up in this game. I'm like, they already pushed and capped there the way they were playing. This is clearly going the way of Renegades. Let's take a look at the KDA as well, guys. And if we can, we may not be able to. I know we're trying to get this game up and running for you. There we go. 10-5 and 13. So a strong performance, but Shadow surprisingly outdoing him, and Moonchopper hasn't died at all.
That's what I was looking at. 5-0
Let's see
and
that
10
loadout,
there.
baby.
Viral just died for the first time this round. Both him and Moonchopper came into this round undying, and now you're going to be looking at Viral potentially being able to kind of keep that going. But Moonchopper, potentially the talk of the town, the 15 streak, and completely undying.
All right. So looking for, we see that awesome showcase of this EV pressure. It's such a difference on Surfer Beach, probably one of her best maps. And you can see here, unfortunately not getting the best of that transition. We're going to go crisper version of the game. Still live and right in the action. Hero, he's going to slay Evil Eye here, and there's a seismic crash coming up. Shadow takes way too much damage, and he backs off. 35% to Kanga, 27% in climbing now to Renegades, who have control.
I mean, you've got to kill Fernando. Like, it's one of those rare instances. It's not the support that needs to die the most, although Viral is definitely part of the reason he's staying alive so much. You get rid of him, you might be able to cut off the other head, but Moonchopper is just consistently pressuring them out. The Fireball, even if you're not running Scorch, is going to do a lot of damage you're going to have to worry about. You're going to have to deal with this damage being dumped into him, and he's still going to be able to walk away.
Almost got him. I'd love to see the Fernando loadout if we can, because he's been really running a lot of the distance on that launch. You get a little bit of extra spray, and of course the heal as well. Staying more for a formidable lineup, but playing like he would be running a Scorch build, and it's just been so exciting to see him holding up that high ground, no fear. And the Renegades, they're going to take this game. Boy, oh boy, these guys are looking excellent. Moonchopper patting himself on the chest, Viral rubbing his hands, and Vocal clapping. These guys are excited. I love it.
I mean, and
It's
doing
infectious.
exactly what you need, right? Like your front line's not dying. Your support at one point was not dying, and because he's not dying, you can keep everyone healed up. And that just opens it. Shadow and Vocal here are such a good damage duo, and that's one of the things we always actually talked about with Splice in the past, where it's just like, if you have these two players that are able to play off of each other like that, like your front line, it doesn't matter if they fall. You're still making progress with them. But when you get that support, you get that front line that are undying, the team escalates to a completely different level. And that was the Renegades I think we got to see in that map.
And there's certain things that kind of create that situation. Sometimes it's the front line that creates the undying of the back line.
Yeah.
This time, I think it was a DPS of Invocal and Shadow who are creating...
Get off
you
my
can't
Moonchopper.
worry about Fernando in this game. There's too many dangerous threats. Let's send it back to the desk. Now Renegades in the lead.
Game 3 in the books. Renegades taking a 2-1 lead here in the series, and shutting me up a little bit about the Fernando.
Yeah, that's
is
a great
Renegades
talking point.
Moonchopper. I mean, I know he was 5-0-15 towards the end of that game. I don't think he ended up dying by the end of it, and doing huge things. And I think what Tulkey said, you know, kind of paraphrasing, is that like Fernando is different from how he used to be, but in the right lineup, he can still do really well. And I think we saw an example of that here.
Yeah.
Most damage on his team, even.
It's close.
Oh no, sorry, I was looking at
damage
the wrong
taken.
column. Damage taken.
He
That
goes
would be
ass
something,
kicked the
wouldn't
most.
it?
Yeah.
108,000 damage on the side of the Fernando.
Does a ton,
he
ton
did
of
die.
job on
7-1,
the
11.
objective. 7-1 there. Running pretty close to the same loadout that Tulkey was running. Almost identical, almost the same there. But a lot of great stuff. But you got to talk about this backline from Renegades
Yeah,
as
definitely.
well. I mean, these are, like I said, two less experienced and less successful ex-PPL players than the Renegades have been. They add to the guys from the lower tier rosters, and these guys are popping off.
I mean, the EV, unstoppable. I mean, 4.4 KDA, 63,000. I mean,
crazy.
unstoppable. And then in Vocal, time after time after time, just hitting the nuttiest shots
Right.
on the Kinessa. And little things like that. I mean, Fernando, you know, obviously played to a very high level. Moonchopper doing a great job there. But I think they said it well as the casters, like, when your backline gives you that
Right.
much pressure, I mean, it's hard not to do
It's a
it.
really nice like 1-2 punch, the way Invocal can hit a shot and Shadow can chase it down, or both of those guys can get kills all on their own. They almost had moments where, you know, they're pulling these triple kills there. Shadow almost got a pentakill.
Right.
He missed the last hit, I believe on Ash, but other than that, I think that pentakill would have been almost about wrapped up for him. So they're having really confident moments, and I think that's a really, really good thing, specifically for these two, because they are kind of like the new guys on the team, you know what I mean?
Right.
And both of them come from rosters that weren't successful, so it feels like Renegades is taking a little bit of a chance on those guys. Where as you
Right.
look at over at Kanga has been more successful on land than the Renegades. Evil and Gara have been more successful than the Renegades on land. So the Renegades are absolutely holding their own today and really showing up in a big way against Kanga.
Holding their own and then some, taking a 2-win streak into map number 4, which is going to be Warder's Gate for us. So the first time we see Warder's Gate come
buddy.
out here in the PPL. A little less new to us than Shattered Desert was, so we know a little bit more what to expect on a map like this. You know, pick ban-wise, you think more the same. I think we've seen Leon all 3 games here. We've seen Eevee a couple games. What plays well into a map like Warder's Gate?
Probably more of the same if you're Renegades. I want to see Kanga kind of switch this up and go for a little bit more of a tanky, closer-knit composition, ideally around Grover if you can get it,
Sure.
but we haven't seen much fluctuation in the bans, and Renegades are going to get rid of it almost immediately. So that idea is off the table, at least from the angle of playing Grover. I still think the King could be a pretty good look for them.
You're asking for it. You want the King.
We'll have to see. They got to change it up. It's time. I think maybe pick, look to an early Leon. We'll see if it's either a Nara or maybe an Ash pick that comes through pretty quickly. Makoa would be the standard ban here for the Renegades. I don't know if these teams are necessarily looking to switch things up in the bans. If they leave open both Ashe and Makoa, Renegades put Kanga in an interesting spot to say, all right, which one are you going to take? We're going to get one of these power picks, but they do not put Kanga in that position, and they will stick to the same 4 bans we've seen in every game prior.
So potential for an Ashe or potentially maybe an Inara coming out here. First pick from Kanga. It is going to be the Ashe. You assume that sets RNG up for the Inara answer. Leaving an Inara and an Ashe on the side of Kanga is a high potential for sadness. I mean, they don't take it. So the Inara is still on the table. Do you stack Inara with Ashe if you're Kanga? I mean, is that
you
is that
can.
A good thing?
Yeah, you absolutely can. I think a lot of people have shown us that Shoulder Bash Ashe can be a thing if you want to play her very aggressively. You can also go for Fortress Breaker in either capacity. You don't need to play Shoulder Bash to play more of an aggro tank Ashe. I think we've seen that equally as well. Another thing I am looking at is actually Xin on this map has been very, very fruitful for Bugsy in the minor league. He looked great when he played it before he kind of took his leave. I think that's something either of these teams could be looking out for. It's just a question of who can play. Evil Eyes played it a little bit. Other than that, I wouldn't say anyone else is likely to take it. And given that the Eevee's already selected for Kanga, it looks like they probably won't go that way this game.
So they picked the Eevee into the Leon, feeling okay with that matchup. Didn't look so great games 1 and 2. Game 3 went the way of the Eevee in that matchup. RNG being okay with taking the Barrack Fernando, giving up the Ashe Inara on the opposite side, but rounding out their lineup with a Ying Cassie. That's a high potential lineup Kanga has here. RNG looking down to their last 10 or so seconds here for their final pick. The Bomb King potentially making his way out. That's who's being hovered at least. Imagine that's who's going to get locked in. If this is the Bomb King, which lineup do you like?
Honestly, Renegades at this point. I think Invoco's been too clean, right? He's really going to put a lot of pressure on the Evil Eye, and it is going to be the king for the Renegades. I thought Moonchopper was fantastic on his Fernando. I think they definitely have what they need to win this set. I think if you can be aware and have Jolt in your loadout and displace this Ashe out of her ultimate, which is going to be one of the more impactful, if not the most impactful and important ultimate for Kanga. It's their first pick. And unfortunately, I think it's the last pick from Renegades that will be able to pretty easily deal with this Ashe if he's running Jolt in his loadout.
What's the way, then, that Kanga wins against a potential Jolt Bomb King?
I think if Evil Eye can stay away from this Leon and stay up in the air and stay mobile and just buy time, you don't necessarily have to get all the frags, but I think Cassie can definitely shoulder a lot of weight this time. Chronix is incredible on Cassie, and I'm definitely looking at him to hyper carry this one because I think he has the easier matchups.
Well, time to see how it plays out in game number 4. Warder's Gate is our destination, and our casters, Evan, Gore, take it away.
Warder's Gate, one of the newest maps in Paladins, and now going to be where the fate of game number 4 turns tides. Will it be Renegades going 3-1 up in this best of 7? Gore, what do you think?
Bomb King. I think Bomb King. And
I'm never asking you a question.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and translate that as a yes. I think they have the potential to bring this up to a 3-1 because Bomb King. I feel like Bomb King has been forgotten about. This is not a map that I can say yes he's strong on, yes he's not strong on, but I can still say that he's really good on land, and so far Shadow has not been disappointing.
Nice little play. I think she was hoping to catch a little bit more Osrhino with the super aggressive route. And I really appreciated that. It was a nice little flex there on the potential of the Inara wall. But you're right, Bomb King, Shadow. Great opportunity for him to show his flexibility and his deadliness because the Eevee we know is deadly. The BK can't do the same thing. We saw Alex pop off when he had that one, but so far, not so good. Evil Eye gets the better end of the blaster trade to start.
And being able to find that kill is actually really big for Evil Eye because Bomb King needs 2 bombs to kill an Eevee. Like, it is very simple. And so Evil Eye is going to have to dance around him very carefully to make sure that he can stay on top of that matchup. But as of right now, he's the one finding the damage. Still 51% there for Kanga. But it is an incredible pickup as to whether or not Shadow... Like, Shadow is, I think, kind of the driving force. Yes, you can do a lot with the rest of it, and Vocal's still going to have a big presence.
Yeah.
But I think this lineup, this draft, puts the pressure onto Shadow.
It really does. I think at this point, Shadow's going to have to show up. Chronix here on the Cassie. He's had some incredible plays. You look at Kanga's intro trailer, or if you were watching DreamHack Valencia, He made one of the most incredible plays on Ice Mines with this character and continues to impress. But again, I stand by my statement. He's been a little quieter today. And I think that's what Kanga have been missing on that DPS role, is really a chance for him to shine. Here's the Ying ultimate, though, the Illusory Rift. And boy, oh boy, Ashe. I mean, she might as well not have been getting any healing. She melted under that.
And Chronic's going to be able to find a key matchup right there. Viral
nice.
going to get taken down. The triple kill for the Cassie. Finally being able to find his place. Last game kind of felt like Chronix was very quiet. Yeah. And I think that was just because he wasn't able to flourish because of the pressure from Shadow and Invocal. This time around, though, less pressure makes it a lot easier for him to stand out.
Dome Shield at the ready for Renegades, so now they are in the holding position. This is a map that Kanga took them to. Obviously, loser's pick from here on out. So the person who keeps winning keeps getting that advantage taken away, and the loser keeps having an opportunity to flex a map that might put them into a better position here. 2 minutes left. And there's the Immortal from Moonchopper. Doesn't want to go down. Realizes that things could get a little iffy if they lose a front line this early. And it's actually going to happen regardless. However, they will trade out and find Rhino.
This has been a map where, much like new maps, has a notoriously difficult push.
Yes.
And that's partially because some teams are still trying to figure out what's the best comp that can do it all, right? What's the best comp that can grab us the point and get us the push? And it just feels like Kanga are trying to figure out how do we get around this corner. It's also an awkward push because it's so easy to get collapsed in on from, I guess, your left side if you're aggressing, right? Coming in from where the base would be for Renegades here, instead of having to deal with them in front of you like you do on most other maps. So you have to fight differently than you're used to fighting and maybe take some areas and take some fights on the side like right here. But unfortunately, right now, Joel's not walking away with a kill.
Yeah. Unfortunate there, but he did the right thing. Oh, almost gets the shot there as well. And he's getting some healing, so this is going to at least keep Shadow alive. Great shots, though, from Evil Eye. This is what they wanted to see. He's had a little bit of a quieter day as well. It's just been, you know, the DPS story totally on the side of Renegades with Shadow and Invocal playing out of their minds. And that's going to have to change if they want different results. Vocal on a 5 streak. Goes down to Rhino. Dread Serpent used as well for the Renegades. They're trying to hold here, but this is slowly inching forward from Kanga.
That's all they need. 30 seconds left, though, so not a ton of time with how wide this map can be. If you fall back too far, you won't be able to come back and touch. And doing things in overtime, it's not unheard of, and it's not outlandish, but it is not the easiest thing to accomplish, especially against players like the ones on Renegades right now. And if you give Shadow that room to play with, you're walking kind of into his domain, you're going to have to deal with a lot more. Although right now, not really top in the damage charts, not doing crazy in terms of his kills, but has the King Bomb available, 3, 3, and 2. He's going to be the one that if he can accelerate, it's going to change everything.
And that is what's going to be coming into question here. Shadow used the Jolt initially. He's going to have another go at it potentially before he goes down under some serious pressure. He throws the Grumpy Bomb up first, and he's just going to use the normal bombs to explode, find some damage on the Rhino. Looks like this should be an easy kill, easy overtime delay. And Jera on the Yang. He's going to make it out, at least for now.
Unless Chronix can get consistent triple kills like this.
Wow, nice outplay.
I am unsure we're going to see this continue. Well, like, continue at that rate, right? Like, Renegades were able to keep close that entire time, and now you're in this position of, can we do that again?
Yeah.
Can we rely on this pop-off? Like, is Chronix going to do this regularly enough?
Right.
Or are we going to have to deal with a little bit more? And Vocal, surprisingly enough, compared to the last couple games when we've been talking about his name, he's been quiet this game.
5 and 3.
Garbage. He's dying way too much.
Shadow 4 and 3
and
again.
he's only slightly top damage.
Yeah, only slightly. I mean, come on, give me a break. Jera and Viral staying close together. Viral, a very good support. It's going to be good to see him get some shine as well on this revamped Renegade squad. A lot of consistent members, but still having some different pressure. And oh boy, talk about pressure. Shadow sent him into the Shadowverse.
And doing exactly what they've needed, going to be able to get aggressive. Evil Eye kind of locked down. There's 3 people looking at you. You're lucky you have the blink because you're going to be able to jump back in, maybe take down Moonchopper, but stay alive through all of it. But hey, look at that point. 90-0 as of right now for Renegades.
You really just sat there and watched it all happen, Hero. He's like, you know, listen, we got to make sacrifices.
I sacrificed my team, but look at this 99.
You sacrificed your life for me, for 99. That's what we do here in the family. Renegades family. And I like the approach. It does give that 6-man approach. They can't fully zone, right? They've got to start capturing this point. And so Evil Eye doesn't have that tank next to him that's going to maybe buy some time. Osrino is stuck on the objective. Dome Shield is ready. That is almost a point secure in itself in this situation. But they lose Moonchopper. They lose Shadow. What is going on?
And it's this awkward point. Viral not able to get the healing he wants. Locked down around the corner. So Hero's going to have to fall soon because there's no one to keep him going. Renegades get isolated and separated, and that, I mean, part of it's going to be Evil Eye taking this flight on Eevee, but I'm giving more credit. This Ashe has been up in their face, and that forced them to separate.
I feel like Chronix must have popped off there because I don't know how that damage just happened that fast. They seemed fine, plenty of time, but the zone must have been incredible. And, maybe we'll take a look at some of these damage charts as well again, and you can see kind of Chronix staying very, very high up, so the consistency does seem to be there for the performance, at least from the Cassie.
Yeah. And they're being able to find it not only through Cassie, but through other avenues. That's going to be Joel's getting a double kill, putting his name on a lot of those kills right through there, whether it was last hit or just eliminations. But you can see the streak starting to burn. Cassie, the one that we were talking about, maybe not the one burning the brightest as of right now. Jarrett 0-2, 14, 7-2, and 8. And then Osrino being kind of sneaky on that Inara. The 5-2 and 11, but the 12 streak burning. They're not dying, and that's something that you can say. Viral's been bullied out a lot of this game, and so the healing just hasn't been there as much for Renegades.
Yeah, it's a tough one because he's got to be in that line of sight, and that's where you poke out and you have that pressure. The Ceres might have actually been a better situation for him, not only because the Void Abides kind of spread heal on that circular point, but also just because he doesn't have to expose himself. And you look at Kanga, although they do have the Eevee, I was going to say there's not as much dive as they might hope against the Ceres, but there's plenty, so that doesn't really count. But I think just the healing in general, that's going to be an issue. As Jera's Illusory Rift is just press E and good things happen for your team.
I actually can't think of a single downside to Illusory Rift.
I don't think
other
there is.
than that sometimes it's not available.
You know what? Sometimes it hurts your hand. It like makes your your finger sore.
Yeah, that stretch you have to make.
Man,
you're resting on, I guess, the D key and then lifting to hit that E.
All the way to E. Like, come on.
It's a long trip across the keyboard. You never know, but I mean, it charges fast.
Yeah.
It is a great reason to get morale boost. It gives you a clear item that you want to go for, and it's going to give you those team boosts, healing that you need, and it's global, by the way. You don't even have to see them; it just happens for them, and that's going to save people like an 1800 health Eevee from getting caught out in those sneaky little areas when he does blink in like that. If he gets caught out maybe too soon or a little faster than he hopes.
And you're right. Right now, though, Shadow's in trouble because they are pushing. They know he's low, and Moonchopper just dropped his shield, so they can't really create space for him. So now he's got to back off. Now Moonchopper doesn't have any real damage pressure. That was one hit, man. They know it. He's trying to get out of here. Min-maxing the situation so well. Viral finally with the heal. That was risky, though, especially in overtime. If he would have gone down, it could have been a very fast collapse. They're going to go ahead and allow this one to end. That was a 12 streak eliminated by, but one of the things we found out, thanks to Shash Ketchum, who tweeted me, was the reason those eliminations weren't giving that ultimate charge back is because it only gives back on eliminations that are kills. So healers get eliminations by healing someone who gets a kill. So you could be 1, 0, and 35 and have a 36 streak, and you won't get any ultimate charge because there weren't more than 5, 10 kills in that streak. So good to know. That was why.
Also makes the big difference when you're paying attention to, I guess, instead of the healer, you look at the Cassie. And if it's like, hey, they're on a 20-0-2 streak, I wonder what's going on. Kill them, get your ult recharge.
And if you're a healer and you've not really got a lot of kills, but you've got a lot of assists, you don't have to jump off.
Unless it's more convenient for your team.
Unless it's just more convenient.
Or
but
if you really like seeing that number, you can try to stay alive.
That's true. For healers, I think it's definitely fine, unless you're just fragging out like a Grover or Genos or something like that. Nice stun there from Chronix. This is an important point. Nobody's going to win the game, but it will set up for the final push that could win the game here. So a lot on the line, and Evil Eye trading out well yet again. Chronix just playing the underneath of this map, and we've seen Buck succeed here. We've seen other champions that have this kind of mid-range mobility and quick burst mobility as well, be able to really have some success. That Dread Serpent comboed into the Assert Dominance as well as the Immortal. Everyone is throwing everything out into this fight, but it's tilting the way of Kanga.
being able to find whatever they want, the stun, the fear, everything was good, but it is still Kanga. There is the death on Shadow. Took him a little bit longer. No King Bomb used that entire round, no good position to use it in. And even though Renegades have been doing well on defense, they have not been able to capture this point once.
And, you know, Evil Eye was a big part of this as well. I think he helped Slay and Vocal early. But when I really do look at it, it's Os Rhino and Chronix who are just dominating, man. They're just pushing so far ahead. They are creating this unstoppable force. And there is certainly not an immovable object this time around. They are getting moved by Inara and Ashe, both physically and, you know, maybe mentally right now, as the morale has shifted away from Renegades and back towards the Australian, European, North American just collage that is Kanga Esports.
And we're looking at this EV who didn't do any crazy things, I want to say, in the last couple of games. Like, having pretty good potency. Evil Eye's been present in a lot of these, obviously in all of the matchups, but whether or not he's making those huge plays has been very hit or miss. Sometimes it's like, cool, you got a triple, and then sometimes it's like, all right, well, you just happen to die there. Unfortunate for you. But in this scenario, he's been in their face. He's been causing the pressure. He's been opening up room for Chronix to come in, or for those front lines. Like, they're in tandem as a team instead of a damage duo, or instead of just the frontline duo. Like, it feels like they are fully firing on every cylinder, whereas Renegades, I haven't really, again, very quiet game from Invocal. Very, very quiet game from Shadow.
Nice stun as well. Big game. Moonchopper, he's going to need to be formidable here because he just lost all his health, and it looks like this could be the end of the game. Warder's Gate has been dominated thus far by Kanga Esports, and they're looking to tie this one up. Gore, 52 seconds left. The final elimination onto Hero. Shadow's going to try and step to defend, but they cannot. And the Chronix, the smile, the joy back in the booth. Man, what a roller coaster of emotions.
And being able to keep themselves not only in the set, but recognizing, okay, we do still have it. Like that last game, that Serpent Beach, ignore it. Maybe that was a hiccup. We don't let them get a draft like that against us again. And on the other side, Renegades having to figure out, what exactly do we do here? Where did we go wrong? What was up with the draft? I mean, you have Invocal on Leon, you have Shadow on Bomb King. Like, those are successful champions on those players, but they just didn't have the performance you expect.
At this point, maybe it's not even about the draft. I mean, it's more about, guys, we have to do this consistently. We can't keep giving one up and then relaxing on our next game. We have to know that 2-3 in a row has got to be the goal if we're going to win this set for sure. Let's send it back to the desk. We've got more. It's now a best of 3 as 4 games have already been played.
Well, continuing on the trend of long sets for the day, at
how about it? That's
at minimum,
crazy.
we'll get another 6-game series here. 6 in game 1, 6 in set number 2, and potentially a 6-game set 3 here, which, you know, doesn't bode well for anyone in the building. You'd hate to see those 3 numbers back to back. But all smiles on the face of Kanga right now, and for good reason. They're able to bounce back after 2 losses, well, back to back. Find themselves tied up here with RNG 2-2.
And I mean, look at the frontliners in this set in particular. I mean, they have been so important. Look at the damage number, 73K, 75K. I kind of agree with Evan. I don't think that really either draft was bad. This was just a slugfest. These team fights were like 8 ultimate team fights across the board, and it was just like, man, who wants it more? Who had the slightly better ultimates wins these fights? There was so much CC, so much control. And a lot of Chronix getting to shoot. He was, you know, really the one that kind of pulled a little bit away from the pack, getting a lot of nice moments. But again, a lot of the fact that he was able to just kind of shoot people without being looked at was because there was a frontliner in front of him making a lot of good space. Look, there's Inara right there. The final team fight in this game was set up very nicely for him because Ashe just kind of up down real quick with her ultimate and stunned people out. Very team effort oriented game, and we're seeing that reflected in not a ton of individual outplays, but very, very big clashing 6 to 8 ultimate team fights.
And that's something I noted as well. I think that Kanga just had a good game plan going into this one. I mean, it was their map pick, so they obviously have practiced on it. It's obviously a map that they feel comfortable on.
Part of it.
Otherwise you wouldn't pick it. But it just seemed like they were more organized at times, specifically one team fight towards the end. You know, all the ultimates were getting popped right at the right time. The banner came down from Ashe, and then entering back with a Dread Serpent and all of that. I mean, it just seemed so cohesive which is nice to see after going down 2 games that Kanga, still has,
Right, some
the
fight.
ferocity, some fight to bounce back here, make it 2-2.
I think the big part of this is just the Ashe first picks,
Yeah.
like almost all set long. If I haven't been writing the drafts down, but I think it's been damn near all set long. The bans haven't really changed at all. Momentum and smiles are back on the side of Kanga. I don't know if that's enough to call it. I would say if they had gone up 3 maps with this one, I would say you could probably call it done and dusted. But
Yeah.
at this point, I just really don't know which way this one's going to go.
One team.
Clean keyboard too. Oof, look at that.
Yeah, it was actually a really neat
Little
keyboard.
cherry blossom
I
action.
really like that. Their style is certainly better than mine. They got to have standard. Actually, I think it's your old keyboard. I have your old keyboard.
Oh, do you really?
It's the black and green lights. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for map number 5 in Ice Mines. We will go. So Ice Mines map 5. Does anything about Ice Mines stand out to you?
I mean, Renegades, this is going to be their selection. Obviously, we're in the losers pick phase of things. And I think Kanga as a core are good enough at Ice Mines to take this one. I think they can flip here, keep the momentum, and rock and roll through. This used to be a big boon to their team. They used to say, we always come to LAN. We always obviously win Australia. And then they had to come to these international LANs and play catch-up. And the point at which they were playing catch-up is when, if they can survive the first couple of maps, then the playing field starts to even. When we get down the stretch, when we're playing Warder's Gate, when we're playing Ice Mines, Timber Mills, Fish Markets, Frozen Guards, things like that, where other teams aren't necessarily super comfortable, that's when Kanga starts to get really good. We'll have to see if that still remains the case as we head into game number 6 here, or 5, excuse me. Renegades are a very interesting kind of note to look at there as well. If you're starting to see the game slow down a bit, and not to say Ice Mines at this point is throwing in the towel. I make that anecdote for like the minor league and stuff, but here in the Premier League, I think it's absolutely a viable enough strategy. I think all of these Premier League teams at one time or another have been brought or dragged kicking and screaming to Ice Mines. So it's just something you have to know how to do. And we've seen it almost in every set today as well. So I don't think, especially with all the best of 7s we're going to be playing and 4 map bans, Dave, Ice Mines is just a reality now.
We have seen it in all 3 sets today. Game 6 is where Envy took it last set. RNG taking it to us in game 5 of this set. We saw Drogos come out last time we went to Ice Mines, which was at the time, sort of interesting, but random noob in our previous set making the Drogos work on a map like Ice Mines. Do you think you could see a Drogos maybe coming out for one of these 2 teams?
Yeah, and from my opinion, it was less of him making it work and just reminding us that it does, in fact, and did work. It was a top 3 pick last season, I would say, on Ice Mines there, and it didn't work for Payan, right? But just because it didn't work for Payan didn't mean that it wasn't what it once was. I think it was really just up to random noob taking the reins there on that pick and showing us that if you're playing combustible right still, I think there is a lot of merit to that pick still being viable, and it's absolutely on the table for this next set because you've got a lot of blaster players on both sides of the coin here that like it.
Well, jumping into picks and bans here for game number 5. Torvald, not really a sight for sore eyes, pretty much in ban prison all day today. I think he got out a couple times.
Yeah, it just doesn't look like... I mean, some teams do this, like they'll switch up the bans, they'll ban 2 supports or something like that and first pick Damba. Like, that's part of their strategy. If that's just not something that's practiced or core to the strategy of either of these teams, then it's just never going to change.
I guess that's fair. I mean, he's obviously a strong pick, and if it's not something that you've practiced against or maybe whatever lineup you have in mind is prepared for, and you take it away. I mean, you maybe let it go through if you're going to pick it or you know that you're going to have a lineup that can deal with it, but not wanting to do that in this case. RNG, Renegades taking the Ashe off the boards. Kanga finding a lot of success with her last game in the Inara. Instead of being stacked with the Ashe, it's going to go across the board to Kanga, pairing it nicely with a Cassie.
Okay, yeah, again, pretty good counter pick to the Ashe here. Ashe is a very high HP tank, as well as the fact of having that knockback available to you is a very good way to outplay the Assert dominance. A very good look for them. Kanga could also go to the Bomb King here. I think Drogo's Bomb King is going to be the 2 blasters that go. I don't know if Eevee's going to be picked here. She's not super popular on this map, but at this point, that's all that's been played for these guys. Someone has grabbed it almost every single game, so it could just be an issue of comfort at this point. But if they rush it, man, I don't know. It could be kind of rough.
The King rolls his way in as pick number 2 here. No Leon out yet, no Eevee yet. The Damba going over to the Renegades. So not too interesting of a pick there. Pretty standard, very high healer, high prioritized healer. Kanga needing a healer of their own. But with RNG claiming the Dombo away, you imagine they'll go more in the course of some of the other picks that they still need. Still need another damage dealer, hybrid tanky type perhaps. Be interested to see which direction they decide to take it. Eevee's certainly on the board. The Drogo's still on the board as well. We touched on that earlier.
Probably got to go for the Drogos here, I would imagine. Again, I don't love Eevee in these situations. I would have preferred Bomb King again because it's another way to counter out the Ashe ultimate, which is super, super strong. The Ying makes a lot of sense here. Gera, a very old school support player. It's funny how we tend to see the older school supports like Bird and Gera playing this. It's also very good on Ice Mines for the fact that you can, that lesser known mechanic of when you pop Illusory Rift, your ultimate to heal everyone in your team. It opens up more options for your mobility skill. You can teleport directly to teammates when your ultimate is popped. So if you die, come out of spawn with ult, you can ult your team and literally dimensional link across the map instantly back into the team fight and actually be useful. So that's one of the... we've seen it once, and it was Gera that did it, and it was hype as hell. I loved the play. It was one of the coolest support plays of all time. He jumped in to get the touch into overtime because he had ult respawn, blinks across the map. Super cool stuff. Hope we get to see a little bit of that action, and now it all comes down to this. Will it be the Drogos for Kanga?
The Leon going the way of Renegades. Still needing one more damage dealer on the side of Kanga if that's the route they decide to go. Drogo seems to be the favored pick.
Especially in a Dome Shield. You can just drag a bunch of Dome Shield potentially.
Oh, look how hard
Pip
you're
it
that
trying.
works too.
How embarrassing.
So you like the Pip? Do you
That
like
works
it as
too.
much
I
as
just
the
didn't see
Drogos?
it's blindsides me a little bit. It's something that we've seen today, but not from either of these teams. So it was kind of out of sight, out of mind. And that's the way Pip's sort of been. It's like it's been played a decent amount in the minor league and done quite well, to be honest. But it just comes down to, can these guys sort of show up and play it? And I think Evil, again, I really praise this guy as a blaster. I think he can be super, super impactful playing this one as well.
And the utility, nothing to be trifled with. That Evil Mojo can certainly change the tide of the fights on the fly. Do you like the RNG lineup as well?
Yeah, I definitely like the Renegades lineup here. Both of them are very, very strongly drafted, but that's kind of where we've gotten to in this set. The bans aren't changing. The picks aren't changing too much. It's coming down to who has the better game.
Is coming down to game number 5 here on Ice Mines. Our classic rock music taking us away. And to take us away into the game, we're going to send it on over to your casters, Evan and Gore.
Oh, hey, Dave. Thanks. I was jamming out, as I always do. And
little known fact, you actually do the guitar part for this.
I do the guitar part for this. It's a very important and very difficult air guitar section that you have to practice a lot. Luckily, I cast Ice Mines every day.
I mean, at this point, we kind of have been.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've had it every day this week, but definitely has it been every set? Have we really had an Ice Mines every set?
When Moonchopper said Ice Mines out in the hallway while we were all having a little break, he said it knowing that it was weak. He said it knowing that when he told them what map it would be, everyone would go, "Really? You're going to go there? Okay." Ice Mines, guys. He's like, "I'm sorry. Like, that's my, I hate to do this to you." And it really kind of sometimes can set the tone for the style of play, which is slow. It's slow. But when we see teams kind of take the pace into their own hands, we see a lot of success. And now Evil Eye is trying to do just that. He baits him out with a little waitlist, says, "Hey, I'm coming for you." But he pays the ultimate price, and Vocal right on the money with a presence across map.
And it's just being able to find that kind of through the window, through the doors, right into his face. And unfortunately there for the Pip, he's going to get pushed out. That's now 75% sitting up for Renegades. Because this time the Bomb King and Invocal on this Leon seem to be hitting their stride a little bit faster. Similar theme, similar composition to last map. Definitely executed a lot cleaner.
Yeah. And obviously this is the Renegades map pick, having lost that last game. So they will be in a position to, if all goes well, make sure that their lineup is successful. Shadow with a nice detonate as he backs away from any damage from Evil Eye. And Nick said this caught him off guard a little bit. And I tend to agree. It didn't seem like something I would expect Evil Eye to play right now. But I don't mind it at all, and I think there has been some success. And he's also been around today, so he's seen what could be done with this pip on Ice Mines earlier, and they may have actually added that into their lineup, having watched earlier.
It almost feels as though maybe not only seeing it earlier, but like that ghost of Cuss's voice in his mind of play the pip. And he comes through. And I mean, it looks good. Evil Eye's definitely been able to be successful on it in the past, but I don't see its impact immediately right now. That's something that we're going to have to watch as it grows over time. This is a notoriously difficult push.
Wow.
Because
Get
of
in
where
there,
this is,
big
but
boy.
Moonchopper's just going at it.
Get in there. He goes right back in, and you're wondering, well, there's no way I'm seeing that Ash again. I just basically bursted her into half health. That was all Moon Chopper. Great play. And it's very much like the Ancient Rage Makoa. But one of the best things about it is there was no reaction time. Typically, she has that high box that she jumps up to and falls down. But because she's able to slam her head up to the top, come right back down, there's no chance to react. 2-0, thanks to Big Daddy Moon.
And unfortunately, there you can see Osarino on the Inara, trying to jump down, trying to hold that defense at the last second. Not able to. Not able to find it, not able to stall it out. And so, not only finding themselves what I will call a rare 2-0 on Ice Mines, but finding it fast. That was not a long push. There was no stall. There was no Renegades collapsing and having to come back and retake the point. That was just pure aggression all the time. And while you see Shadow with 3-1-1, you see Invocal 2-1-3, that's Moonchopper to me. That was all his play. That pressure he applied up there gave them the last half.
And if you continue to look at Ash, she's risen and fallen as far as a priority. But, you know, in this kind of meta, because that stun was added, she just rose to the top, especially early on in the 2.02 kind of patch rankings and tier lists. And I think she still remains in a very similar spot. Moonchopper didn't have much to do there. Just wanted to make sure, am I going to fall off and die right now? Okay, no. He almost got that kill on Evil Eye as well.
They're under the pressure. Chronix, though, this time,
damage.
the shots are finally connecting. This is what they were missing last round entirely. They get the 2 kills early on, and I don't even know if Invocal can feel safe poking his head out.
Yeah, and Moonchopper, although he gets the push, does not have the ability to go in and contest with that ultimate. They're going to get the overtime, but because Chronix cleans up Invocal, that should do, and they're going to back off. The benefit, though, for Renegades is they can actually hold here and still have the 3-1. So next round, they could have a chance to definitely go ahead and win the game if they can defend, but that's easier said than done.
If applied properly, the pressure right here can stall this payload for pretty much 2 minutes on its own.
Right.
You just have to be able to find it. Bomb King, incredibly capable of doing so, but you have to get a couple of kills. You get rid of Evil Eye, you get rid of Jera, and that is the best step you could ask for.
Oh, in the back line. Invocal shows up out of nowhere. Shadow adds 2. It's a full house. And Kanga Esports are wiped.
Exactly the kind of pressure, exactly the timing they need, and keeping that payload where it is. And the good thing about it is now they can get aggressive. They can maybe just dismount, keep them held back over here, where Kanga would be looking to defend if they were being pushed on. And then the payload, as you can see, starts to regress back into that chokehold one more time. And it just makes it more difficult. You have to win kind of 2 fights here.
Yeah.
One where they're pushed up, and then one where the payload is to make sure that you can start pushing it again.
And this is an interesting spot because you can easily overcommit here and get isolated. If they choose to show over to where Hero is, maybe he steps a little too far, and then there's a wall, and then he's walled off with only one way to go. And Kanga Esports having 5 members waiting for him that direction. Look at this, Osarino getting aggressive. I like the play style. He's trying to finish off Invocal, and he will. Excellent tank play. And he has the Illusory Rift now, so he's feeling confident staying here. Just that Earthen Guard is going to give him some extra defenses here so he can get that healing even more. And Jera's doing a fantastic job of keeping his front line alive.
There's some things that you see front lines walk out of, or at least I see front lines walk out of, and I say,
that's wrong.
No, that's just wrong. And it is usually an Inara, 9 times out of 10. And this time it was just because there was such immense healing. Like Osarino, I mean, was teetering on the edge of death there. Like the entire time, could have fallen off the ledge.
Yeah.
Might have lost his grip. But it was just 1,000 health bouncing up and down to about 200 constantly. And as long as he walks out alive, I don't think Kanga care.
You know, he's a gunslinger navigating the desert, trying to find his way. 12 seconds now. Seems like Invocal's really done a good enough job here to secure the hold. And the rest of the hold, too, has been very strong. Shadow's done a ton of damage. And he's actually found a triple kill here, as we mentioned it. These are less enthusiastic because basically the round is ending. And there's really no consequence there. They were all essentially knowing they weren't going to push this all the way. So my life is forfeit at this point. We give it a try, but we weren't able to do it. But now what's interesting is that Renegades are in that 3-1 position. One good point fight, and they have ultimates now, and they take this game.
I'm still looking Moonchopper primarily, just because I think his ult, as well as Heroes, are the best stall and or get off my point ults as you can have.
Yeah.
Also, Rhino can definitely cause some trouble. Jules can cause some trouble with his, but I feel like Hero and Moonchopper, even if they, let's say they go and they die very early on, Moonchopper is gone for that first tier of Master Riding. You might be able to see Hero get one if he gets enough credits between now and potentially a death, that they can come back in and then use those ults. Like, they still have that ability to hold on to. So even though Kanga Esports have the fast cap, I think Renegades still have everything kind of in their toolbox.
Ooh, and that was a really good wall. Shuts off Shadow's aggression, and Moonchopper gets deleted. That was not what he wanted. And it seems like that was an evil mojo directly on a Moonchopper who was trying to do that aggressive play. Now, the key here is you do not get fully wiped. If you can maintain this space, you're fine. And in fact, they've used a big ultimate that you no longer have to worry about. Oh, nice Poppy Bomb attempt there. Now that Moonchopper's coming back, they are going to have the ability to hit the gas pedal yet again. King Bomb here, and there's a seismic crash. They don't know exactly where it is. The Hex Up Fire is going to ward it off, though. Great counterplay by Jules.
I'm going to say, though, you get 2 ults right there for the one coming down, and now Moonchopper can be able to plant the flag, do whatever he can, tries to take down House Rhino, but unfortunately there's just not enough damage yet. Finally gets rid of the Inara, and now they're going to be able to dance on this point. They don't, or they still have the Dome Shield, so they still have control.
And that was a really good kinetic burst to push House Rhino back into the point where she could not move out. No burst mobility on Inara means you're not getting out of this situation, especially with Invocal on an 11 streak. Renegades give us a sub 10-minute game on Ice Mines. That's the cause for celebration in itself.
That's an achievement in itself. Not only being able to find that 2-0, but also being able to put themselves ahead. You can see, again, feeling confident in their ability. But the thing that's been most interesting about this to me is the fact that you come out, you see Kanga this time. I mean, after game 1, they're talking. This time, complete and utter silence.
They literally, both teams are trading dejected faces after the game. It's like you look like they lost the World Finals after every single match they lose, and it just keeps going back and forth. I wonder if someone's actually going to be happy at the end of this set or not. Renegades, you got one more game to do it. Let's send it back to the desk, see if they can.
Renegades looking to take the win here in game number 6, taking game 5 on Ice Mines, going up 3-2 here in the series. Lots to break down there in game number 5. You had Invocal back on the Leon doing well. You had the Bomb King adding a lot of pressure into the game. You had the Barrack really riding high on streaks. And that was the fastest game I think we've seen so far in this set.
Yeah, I mean, Renegades come out with a really, really big 2-0 start there, and then they get the defense to put themselves up 3-1. Kanga were absolutely in a spot to be able to hang in there. But it's all giving that pick up to Shadow. I think it was Evil Eye that died there after the Evil Mojo. Yeah, that was the big thing. They had their pick. They had comeback mechanic. It was Ice Mines. They just had to kind of take that team fight slow and steady there and win the race, but they were kind of unable to do so there. Damage not really there for Evil Eye. 2-5, 0-5 for Chronix. Just a rough game for the boys for sure. Tough. Renegades played better on a lot of stretches. The only death Moonchopper had was when he got barrel stuffed by the Evil Mojo. So that's 2 games in a row now where he has died 1 time.
You have to look at Hero as well. Only 1 death
or not 2 games
on that Barrack, and then Viral 0 deaths. I mean, you basically were only able to kill the frontliners in that game, and the cleanup really came from the back end. But Shadow, certainly one to watch on this Bomb King. 7 KDA, 62,000 damage, some multi-kills coming out from him as well. And then, you see Invocal in the kill feed as well.
Yeah, that was a sick moment there for the Renegades. You had this massive flank come through for Invocal. He manages to sneak his way to the back line with some help, creating some space, and then getting a triple kill, and nobody was looking at him from Kanga Esports. They're getting shot in the back of the head. They finally turn around and realize what's going on. Shadow makes his move, picks up the last 2 remaining members of Kanga Esports, and they make quick work of him in that team fight. Held Kanga entirely at that corner as well. Kanga made almost no progress on their offense, but that's the way this whole set is going, just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And if it keeps up this way, then the Renegades are just going to win it. Kanga have got to flip and then hold here.
Is there anything specifically that you look at Kanga and say, all right, if you had changed this or you know, something, you taken away this, you would have had a better chance in that game? I mean, you could easily say, you know, if you shut down the Bomb King, you know, you take the win there. Is there just something about the way they played maybe that seemed off to you?
I guess for me, it's if you could have gotten the Bomb King, they should have, but they didn't have the chance to. I think the Anar Cassie was a great first 2 picks for them. But going forward in the set, you might not need to pick Cassie quite that early. I don't know if the Renegades are really looking for it. That's the smallest little adjustment or optimization that could possibly be made in that draft. Another big thing to look at is Ashe in this set. I mean, Ashe has been, you know, almost exclusively first pick, so it's kind of crazy to see that level of impact. She's been good. She's been strong for just about everybody. But first pick level and just the blind aggression you can have with that character, it almost looks like both of these teams don't really know what to do when they don't have it. Like, it's such a big part of their success. Whatever slots in behind it is whatever slots in behind it. But at this point, Ashe has been so critical for both these teams.
Well, Game 6 is going to take us onward to Stone Keep there. So Kanga choosing Stone Keep as their spot. I mean, do you think Ashe is strong enough to the point where you consider banning her away, or not really? I mean, the other
that would
4
require
bans,
us to change the bans.
That's true. I was going to say the other 4 bans seem pretty set in stone. Keep, but nice.
Pretty set in stone, so we're trying to keep them the same now, huh?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, we're getting to that level now. We're getting there. It's getting close, ladies and gentlemen. It's 3 back-to-back best-of-7s. Almost, we would have had 4 today if we had all our visa issues sorted out beforehand. Same 4 bans this time around. Is it going to be the Ashe pick? Drum roll, please. It is.
You're a prophet.
Color
Where's
me.
the crystal ball?
Not really.
Kicking it under the desk as we speak.
I mean, at this
Nara
point,
enters
if you can't see the first pick Ashe coming, you just haven't been paying attention.
What I've noticed though is, I think it was Kanga who managed to get off a Ashe and Nara maybe in game 2. I'm trying to game 1. And it was just, or maybe it was on the side of RNG. One of the 2 teams was able to pick Ashe and Nara, and it has not been even close to that set. It's immediately been an Ashe and then a Nara stacked on top of it. So the Bomb King now reversing sides. Bit of a Benedict Arnold onto the Kanga team instead of sticking with Renegades. And the Dama rounds out their first 3.
It just feels like the same draft back and forth.
Be.
I will say, Leon is to Renegades as Cassie is to Kanga right now. That's really the big difference in these 2 drafts. That's changing up. But these guys, I mean, the games are super close. You know, Hades talked about before this set, they haven't had a ton of time to practice together, so I don't know how much is in the back pocket. How many ace in the holes do they have type of deal. They kind of probably have what they feel good about, and that's what they want to go with here, and that's definitely okay. Kanga seems like a team that as they play together more, because, you know, they had to move everyone from all over the world to get here, the more they play, the more they'll evolve. But it seems as though this week 1, day 1 matchup, they certainly have what they want to be locked in.
Well, a lot of it's probably, like you said, just kind of finding your feet. Like, let's get in here. Let's get our first set of the PPL out of the way. You know, nobody's pulling anything too crazy.
If this is all you got, this is what you got, right? It's a little bit late to pull the carpet out from under yourselves, and you don't want to throw yourselves for a loop too hard. We'll see what they round out with. Cassie was still open, but they are going to go ahead and Shaw.
I like the Shaolin. Shaolin has found his success today. You know, again, we saw Rock Monkey on it a couple times in our last set. Kanga certainly can make something like that work. And then the Drogos going back over to RNG, so a couple high-powered offensive picks rounding out. 5 up, 5 down here for both teams. Do you like one compared to the other?
Question mark is definitely the Shaolin here for Kanga. I think it's a good pick. If they go up for explosive arrows again, I think that would have been maybe to try and deter the Eevee a little bit here, because the Renegades, we're setting up to have a decent little Eevee game. But not a ton of great matchups. I don't love Eevee in a Shaolin, but I don't hate it either. Obviously, Liam is the big one that I'm kind of like wary of if I'm playing Eevee. But the Shaolin is definitely a question mark. Kanga and Renegades, we've been saying it every game. They both have some pretty solid lineups, and it's going to come down to who gets the better team fights.
Well, Game 6 it is. 1 win stops RNG from going through. 3-2 is your scoreline, making it 4-2. Looking to make it 4-2 is RNG. Stone Keep is the map. Evan and Gore, take it away.
Thank you, Dave.
And please, it's not Evan, it's Maestro.
It's Maestro at this point, coordinating the sound and acting like they're magic fireballs or something. I'm doing a lot.
This is actually the choreography for the next Magician Mickey.
It's also like semi, into the fist, like a wannabe Bruce Lee movie right there. I am very excited about this game, and we also have to pump ourselves up. This is our 18th Paladins game in a row today, and it's just been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. What a great day. What a competitive day. I think that's been the biggest surprise for me today, how competitive every set's been. Not some. Every single set. It's been phenomenal to see.
And being able to showcase a lot of these teams, I mean, even right now, right? More than I expected out of both of these teams. I was wondering whether or not Kanga was going to be this insane powerhouse, if Renegades were even going to look decent against them, because I'm like, man, Renegades didn't change their lineup that much.
Right.
Are they going to be able to pull it off, or are we going to be looking at the same Renegades we saw last time? And they're pulling it off. They're looking really good.
Yeah, they are. Renegades are looking like a threat, but it's really about closing out, too. There's some great teams that get there and get real close, but it's the teams that close it out that can win. That's where the greatness comes from, A heck of a lot of people have been to the finals. Not a lot of people are champions.
I feel like I've seen Shadow on this map, on Drogos, so many times in the past couple weeks that it's not too surprising to see how successful he can be with it.
Oh, no. He's a big Drogos player. Big EV player, big BK player, and can help you flex onto a lot of different things, even the Pip. But I think that's one of the great things about it. He's been a perfect match to Evil Eye, picking out of his draft pool. Evil Eye doesn't just get his pick of the litter. They've got to worry about what Shadow's going to grab as well, so forcing a little pressure onto that earlier in the draft potentially, and in Vocal. I mean, it doesn't really matter what you give him. He seems to be just dominating. And there is an opportunity here for, I think, some real show-stopping potential to finish off this game, as Renegades do have the first point and are now pushing 50% of the way already.
And a fantastic draft here for Renegades as well, because not only do they get things they're comfortable with, Shadow on the Drogos, then you get a Vocal on this Leon, you grab up this Inara and this Fernando that have been successful for you, and then Saris, I mean, earlier I was really, really surprised with how well Viral can make it look.
Yeah.
And then you look at the other side, and there's not that many threats to really deal with those champions. I mean, Drogos is going to stay in the air unless he floats too close to Bomb King, or Shaolin hits some of the most amazing shots of his life.
And he's been hitting some good shots. Shaolin and Chronix have been hitting a lot of shots. And the thing about Shadow is he hasn't really poked him out as well. To each his own, and he's obviously making the call that they feel is best for the team. But sometimes I like to poke out at Drogos. Make at least him know, the Shaolin, make him know that, I'm not going to just sit here and get shot by you and not respond to any fire, just focus the Inara. She's hard to kill enough. But I think just target swapping a lot, they need to find someone that they're going to finish off. That's going to open up this push right here. Still, really focusing on Evil Eye. Hasn't shot at the Shaolin once, and I understand that, but got to find a kill. Too much poke.
Getting a lot of damage on the Evil Eye has made that trade a couple of times now, but like you said, a lot of people were walking away. Here comes a Dragon Punch looking for a front line, but he gets taken out, and that is that moment. Floats too close to the Sun. The Sun this time is Bomb King.
Yeah.
And he gets burned.
Yeah, unfortunate there. It's really just, it's Wormjet's Drogos is actually very good on this map. And there's a lot of nooks and crannies to hide behind and then appear suddenly with a lot of damage. And you can actually play around these trees really well for those experienced players with the scenario. Hero is going to find Rhino as they continue to push forward. That shield's going to block some damage. 5 seconds left. Are they going to ult here? Evil Eye feel pretty confident right now. He forces him off the high ground. Overtime's going to tick away. What do we see?
Convergence online. Moonchopper not. He's going to get taken down
offline
almost immediately. And that's going to be a defense coming through, and Kanga being able to maintain a ton of their ults. Ash ult was used a little earlier in the round, so it's going to be at a 60% charge, I think is what I saw there. So they're going to be able to come into this round with 4 charge versus Renegades, I think only having 2, maybe 3 coming up, but Leon's ult can be hit or miss. I mean, it's usually going to connect in terms of damage, but whether or not you find the kill with it, if it's actually going to be effective damage, is the thing that will make the big difference here. I expect Invocal will be able to lock it down, but There's a lot on the line,
Yeah.
and I think there's a lot of pressure on Shadow to maybe charge that Dragon Punch up a little bit faster.
A hell of a game from him and from Invocal right there. Those skill shot branded headphones.
But you can kind of see through the Invocal branded hair.
The Invocal branded hair. That is Invocal brand. That's copyright, trademark. No one else can get that but him. And maybe his kids one day.
One day.
Yeah. But it's still not going to be the same.
Never going to be able to infringe on the brand.
Yep. Strong branding right there.
As we know here, staying on brand is important, especially for people like Invocal.
Exactly. And you know what? I think the King Bomb here at the ready, not going to be actually used. It's going to be activated very quickly and then just given up because he felt it was a bad situation to run into. And he's probably right. Seismic Crash probably would have been activated right afterwards and used to stun him out. But now, wow, Hero's going to fall down. It seems like Kanga Esports going to grab this one without too much more of a contest on the point. Only 3% for Renegades. And now it's Kanga's turn to push.
And that was a really good angle fight, I guess, from Evil Eye. Like, being able to approach the fight the way he did, bounce around the way he did, and find the kills the way he did. Being able to put that pressure down and just jump over the wall right there, too. It's one of those things you're seeing is just, he's used to Bomb King. He knows the champion in and out, and he can react instantly when he needs to. And that's the thing that's been making the big difference. When he is on, when he is ready to go, he's doing great. Unfortunately there, he gets yanked right back in.
Get back here. Get back in here. It's like a mom calling to her son who's just staying out a little too late. Get back in here, Johnny. Get back in here. And they know it. They know they got to pay attention, especially when the convergence does come calling. It's missed a lot today. But it doesn't mean it's going to continue to miss. And Shadow's just been stepping a little out of line. Feels it's comfortable to go back. But Osrino's going to catch him on the retreat. So now they have 4. What's going to happen here?
I'll be honest, of every single member of Kanga that I thought was going to chase down the Drogos, I did not think Rhino was going to be the one at the top of the list going for the kill. But he's able to find it. And, I mean, that aggression, the way that Ashe has been played just today in general, but also coming down from Kanga, it has been impressive. I mean, even just mirroring what Moonchopper did last game on Ashe. Like, that aggression is game-changing in certain scenarios. And it's moments like that. You find a kill that your team might have just let slip through. That Dragon could have been pressuring you out way more, but Drogo's dying there means you can move that payload a little closer.
Absolutely. He's going to go up and over. Evil Eye misses the jump there. He can't quite get up. That's what he's going for. But he's still winning the fight. I mean, this is the thing that's happened with Shadow too much. He's fought too many people that just don't die. I mean, this is one of the hardest hitting champs in the game. You've got your Fire Spit. There's a lot of kill confirmed potential here, but it's not happening. And so whether it's playing safe, whether it's needing to get a little more aggressive, this is what's creating this kind of slow but steady slight loss that could be turned into a win next time. He finally, on the defense, able to clean up 2, but Chronic's right there with another arrow. Doesn't want to hurt his luck, so he's just going to help finish off Joel's as an elimination. Chase now where he assumes Chronix has gone. Fire Spit might help to clean it up. And 5 seconds left. I don't know if they'll be able to touch.
Overtime might be able to tick through. No one's going to be even close for it. Evil Eye's in that good position. Finally gets rid of Shadow, who's been causing a lot of trouble for him. But unfortunately not able to lock it down fast enough. Because Shadow there, I think a double kill, assists on the 3rd. Joel's threw down a dome shield that he then stepped out of and did not quite get, I think, the full utility of that he could have. And now you're in this position where 2-2, this point, could very much close out this entire set if Renegades are able to capture it and push it forward. And again, you're looking at I don't want to say lackluster games. They're hitting incredible shots. They're playing really well. But the slash lines for Shadow and Invocal aren't quite as impressive as they were at the beginning of this set, which is partially Kanga, I think, getting warmed up and also recognizing where the threats are on Renegades.
I think when you realize threats, how you act towards them is really going to be the key. These players have been performing so well. And here's a convergence trying to yoink him back in. Get back in the house, Timmy! Shadow cleans up 2, and Vocal gets in on the action as well. It's a sleepover. Everybody's having a party. And I think Osrino at this point is the only one who's not invited. Goes back to base. A little unhappy with himself, but Renegades not out of the woods yet. Kanga Esports 12% already, and They have not been completely freed away from that zone, so they're going to have a chance to get back, and the seismic crash is going to start it off.
Shadow going to be able to get rid of Joel's immediately. Now following it up with Jera. There's no healing. Evil Eye's gone. The pressure is just not going to be there from Kanga unless House Rhino can make the craziest play of his life. But unfortunately, he just kind of runs in.
Wow.
And flops on the ground.
Yeah, he does. And so this one was really about that convergence early on. That just set everything
so
up.
solid.
And there was no real way to come back from that. They tried to kind of essentially reset, but that fight was pretty much already over. And the zone was too strong. Moonchopper has been the best, kind of showcase of Fernando that I've seen most of the time today. I did like Tolkien towards a couple of those games, but I almost liked him better on a couple other champions. Moonchopper's really shown me some of that steadiness that Fernando can provide to a lineup. So I will give it a little bit more credit. Not that that matters, but
yeah. Well, I mean, 2 minutes left on the clock for him
happen.
to keep pushing forward. Renegades are at map point as well as set point if they can find this push. So a lot of drive behind them right now. Not a lot of ults to fuel them going forward, though. Convergence coming up soon. And since that won them that last point, it has potential to win them the game if they can use it properly. But 2 are dead.
From the top ropes. Oh, my God. That man came out of nowhere. He's now going to try to finish off another one. He should be able to clean it up. Shadow goes down. But this is what I'd like to see. Get aggressive. Get a little bit of a push. It's 90, about 80% of the way pushed already. And you have 1:20. I mean, you're fine. One more fight and you're good.
Charge up the ults. Dome Shield almost back online. King Bomb almost back online for Bomb King. So you're set. Yeah, Rhino has to use his ult going into that. But he buys them tons of time. And again, that's what Dome Shield, that's what Ash Ult are for. Assert Dominance will just give you time. Whether it's time that you're alive, time to buy stuff, that's all you need.
Wow, that Dome Shield was really reactionary or really lucky. Because I don't know where the damage was coming from. I don't think it was from Fernando. It had to be knowing that salvo could have put him in the danger zone. And that, my friends, was what saved this point. Might have saved this round. Might have saved this set. Incredible stuff there from, I believe, Joel's on that barrack. 100,000 damage core for the Shaolin.
Yeah. And I don't want to say silent damage because I think we've gotten to see quite a few of the kills, but
oh, you got to get this.
There hasn't been a ton of, oh man, look at the Shaolin. Like, he's just sitting in the back line, doing the Shaolin thing. Maybe it's a stun here, 1,000 damage from an arrow there. And he's just setting it up and leaving it to Evil Eye.
So much respect from these guys. But, man, I think the best thing that he's done all around is find those few rockets onto Chronix. That's the guy who's really putting him down in the air. Who else is going to contend with him? You got to get Chronix out of this game. And Evil Eye now taking a couple of hits, but he's just getting the focus from Jera. Jera is focusing Evil Eye on the heels so well. And you got to give credit where credit is due. Kanga Esports hold a tremendously difficult hold there. And they give themselves another chance. The double kill from Shadow from on high is what sealed the deal there.
And I'm happy we got to see that from two perspectives. First, we watched it from that Saris where it's like, okay, cool, I got the grab. And then her damage looked nice, but now I see that was all of the dragon shots, the rockets that are hitting 2-3 people and collapsing in on them. One more ult like that. And that's how you want to set. But no convergence available coming into this, so it's going to be up to Saris to charge that up. If Viral can get that last, 12%, it's going to make a big difference.
I think he will be able to, especially with the way they're playing Fernando right now. He's going to be doing a good amount of healing. I think the corridor fighting that's typical of Stonekeep will allow him to throw some orbs out here and get a bunch of damage. Early Ash. Oh, and it gets the stun onto the Drogos. That is huge, but Saris is right behind her. Another stun, double stun from Kanga. They want them dead and out of here. But Shadow says no way. Unbelievable. One kill for him, and Vocal gets another. Hero finds one more, and Shadow looking to clean it up. They can smell the victory here, Gore. Renegades are off and running.
And that's just a full wipe, full reset for Kangas. They have to come in now essentially fighting at a large deficit. 60% still rising. Shadow feeling himself. The shots connecting. They have a convergence to pull people away. This is a set for Renegades to win. They are in control.
And he's got to hit this, and the rocket falls. Now they have to focus onto the DPS. He's going to go for the healer, but there's a very slippery snake active here. A wonderful stun from the Grumpy Bomb, and that's Osrino now helping to take control back. What can Invocal do? He needs to hit the shot. 745, don't miss. He is lights out with the aim on Paladins. And probably any game that the man plays. Osrino here with Joel's. They're trying to set up their double barricade, and it's working, but not for long. I don't know if this is going to be enough, Gore. The Dome Shield finally drops.
Doing whatever they can. There's going to be the Enlightenment, and it connects. 2 kills right there in Vocal Shadow. 1 more on the board for each of them.
Wow.
And that's a 99 to 100.
And that's a Renegades victory, baby. They take down Kanga. They win our last set of the day. Renegades, NIP, and Envy are your winners in day 1 of the PPL.
And I'm going to say today has been a completely different path than what I thought we were going to see. I thought that the first and last set were going to be a lot easier for one team on the side, and I definitely didn't think it was going to be Renegades in this last one.
Man.
So, I mean, huge props, first off, to Renegades, Kanga, as well as the Knights, the teams that I wasn't sure what to expect of being able to showcase
Sub with
so
Prime.
much.
Sub with Mixer Prime? I don't know. We're on Mixer.com. It's Paladins games. I don't understand that language. Let's send it back to the desk here to wrap it up. Renegades, they're your victors.
You might have heard of a little thing called Prime. We're not talking about that, though. We're talking about RNG winning 4-2 in the set, taking it away. And they really leaned heavily on Invocal and Shadow there to find themselves the win on the back end. And some bad news is they completed the 6-6-6 day for us. 3 game sixes all across the board.
Did.
But certainly a fun set to watch. And RNG coming out on top, Renegades dropping Kanga 4-2. Any takeaways that you have on the side of Renegades?
I mean, congratulations to them. They show great resilience. I don't think anyone expected them to win today. I think everyone expected Kanga to be able to take this match. They have better performances, better historically, bigger names on the roster, right? You have the Renegades pulling up Shadow at the last minute. They're saying they have like a couple days or something like that to practice with him, and he goes off. I mean, Shadow had an incredible day for being what is kind of brand new to this scene.
Right, and that was a storyline to watch going in. It's like, oh, you know, we have this PPL team forming, and we pulled up a PML guy, and he performed above and beyond. I mean, he arguably drove this set here for Renegades. He at least drove the final map here. 117,000 damage coming out for Shadow. 13-7-11 slash line. 14-4-10 on the side of Invocal, though. Certainly nothing to scoff at there either.
Pretty incredible stuff all across the board. Invocal and Shadow were great. I thought the Renegades frontline did a phenomenal job as well. And you can't forget, and you can't help but shout out that convergence that did help basically win that fight. When you look at these more second tier supports, the Maldamba, or excuse me, the Genos and the Seraph specifically, their ultimates are so much so just a cherry on top if you can get it. And that's what happened. That was a real cherry on top for the Renegades. They win that whole team fight because of that ultimate that really isn't being counted on for much. They just go fishing and, oh, look at this. We happen to wipe them off the back of it. So awesome stuff there. This final team fight was really intense as well. And I have to say, given now 2 sets that we've seen a decent amount of Fernando in, that's where he is shining to me. When you have these maps where it's a cluster, right? Where everyone is slamming together, ultimates are being popped left and right. It's so nice to be able to just immortal and just being like, all right, let's just, we're taking it, we're good, everyone's staying alive, we're staying alive here. And now we can kind of put together our counter offensive. So that is definitely one thing I have liked about Fernando. That's one thing Tolkien mentioned as well. Whatever happens to the loadout cards and the talents, that ultimate is still God tier.
Absolutely. Fernando making his place felt here in game number 6. And on the flip side, you look at Kanga. I mean, they have a lot to walk away with as well. I mean, they took RNG, a previous PPL team, 2-6 games. They played very well as well. And Chronix on the Shaolin there in the final game, I mean, he was playing very well and playing at a very high level, so certainly something to take away there for them as well.
Yeah, I think a big thing for Kanga is, again, they got to get some more practice in for sure. Getting more cemented in these roles, I think, especially for Chronix, because he's done probably the most flip-flopping around on Kanga. Like I mentioned, played a little bit of support, played a little bit of off-tank, played a little bit of DPS, because that roster has gone through a different iteration in every single LAN, basically, of the previous season. So when they start to settle into their roles a little bit more, get a bit more practice all together in the house, I think Kanga will definitely evolve. But big congrats again to the Renegades. I don't think anybody was counting on them to do it the way they did it today.
No, I don't think so. It is a long season, though. We do have a quick interview in with the winners of the last game. We'll send it on over there. Here's an RNG interview.
Well, congratulations, guys, on your win. And I just kind of want to know, I mean, coming into this, I got to talk to the coach for a little bit before. You're one of the only teams that has that as many consistent members as you have. So how do you think that affected today, and how did you feel?
It felt really good. I feel like I can trust, the teammates I've already had for like a year, which are Viral, Moon, and, well, formerly Loki, but he couldn't make it this LAN or this game. And I think that synergy that we've built up over the course of past like 2-3 seasons or splits and the LANs we went to, I think it really comes in and helps us feel comfortable on game day.
So how about the just the physical nature of being here in Atlanta? I know, Jaden, you moved your life here, right?
Yep.
You're going to school here now. How's that transition been, and how's that been for the rest of the team?
Well, I mean, since I'm homeschooled, it's been pretty easy, right? I just moved over and I just hop online, do all my school, right? So it's not much different, actually.
Oh wow, I thought you were actually going. Someone was
Oh,
talking
no.
about. Someone had told me that and painted a picture that you were like riding a bus and doing all that stuff. But hey, man, I'm glad you're keeping it simple and easy. One thing that we wanted to talk about though in today's game was that a lot of people kind of were not sure how you were going to look. The last time we saw Renegades, it was a little disappointing because you guys didn't have Loki again. It seemed like that really hurt the morale of the team. What was different about today that made you guys feel good and confident about going into it?
I think we just came in prepared, right? Like, we knew what maps we were coming in with. We knew what drafts we were coming in with, right? I think if you come in prepared, you come in confident. If you come in confident, it's just an easier win. It's like, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, guys. Again, congratulations on your win. And we're going to go back to the desk one last time to close out the day.
Thank you.
Certainly a fun first day in the PPL. Lots of action going on around the league. Do a quick turn back of the pages here, look over some of the matches that we had today. Starting off the day, we had Ninjas in Pajamas versus the Pittsburgh Knights, and starting off was a very quick 2-0 just dash out of the gates there for Nip. And Pittsburgh able to answer back a little bit, but Nip ultimately coming out with the win.
And I think, man, I really didn't know what to expect. And I think that was the big theme for the first set was we just didn't know what the Knights were going to look like. There are a lot of good players, but from a lot of different places and a lot of different backgrounds and experience levels and success levels. Versus where you look at Nip, they had, relatively the same core that they had last season. They made a couple of adjustments here. It's largely a European roster, kind of know what to expect, very successful lineup. And they do end up winning out the day, but I think the Knights kind of came out and surprised everyone and gave NIP a really good run for their money.
I think they did, and we saw Dethroner tweeting out how proud he was of how his team played today, and he certainly should. Definitely a lot of players made it clear that we need to keep our eye on them this season. Tenor, certainly not a guy who needed to remind us of that. A well-known player in the scene, continued to play very well throughout the day. Bonkar as well, just doing an incredible job there for the Ninjas in Pajamas and really firing on all cylinders. I know they slowed down there in games 3 and 4, but really found their footing, made a very quick work of games 5 and 6 there, and really wrapped up the day on a good note.
Yeah, Tenor seems like he's definitely maturing as a player, getting a little bit older, more experience in the scene. He was kind of like one of the real hot rookies coming into the first inaugural season of the PPL. So it's good to see him kind of have to go through, take some lumps, I guess, right? Be humbled in a way, right? He was winning nonstop with that Fnatic lineup, but they could never put it together at land. Hopefully he can get something going here with this NIP roster. Bitey was commenting, it was very funny about the Victor. Bitey loves Victor. He said he had to clean up the grenades a little bit, which I tended to agree with. Great stuff, though, I think, all around from NIP. I loved what I was hearing from Bonker. They gave a great post-game interview as well.
Well, our second match of the day was actually a replay of our World Championship this past season. Envy Navi, certainly one that had a lot of high anticipation coming into it, and one that Envy ended up taking in another 6-game set. And we saw sort of a similar storyline where Envy came out of the gates hot. They played on Bright Marsh first and took it almost in a clean sweep there. Navi answering back with a couple wins of their own, and then Envy win 3 straight to take it away. I know that sort of the talk has been around the substitute playing on Na'Vi.
Yeah.
And I know that Envy made it clear that regardless of what roster they were facing, it's Na'Vi. I mean, they could have 3 players, they could have 2 players for that matter, and it would still be Na'Vi.
That's fun. I almost kind of gave him a hard time saying at what point is it no longer Na'Vi if it's 5 different people? But I'm just trolling.
0 players.
Yeah. As long as they have the jersey, they wield the power of the world champion roster. But no, they did great. I think Toki bringing the Fernando out. I think Random bringing the Eevee out. That was the big kind of moment for me where I'm like, Envy is okay. They have a couple aces in the hole here. They're not sleeping on Na'Vi. I don't think we expected them to. That's a big part of that documentary, right? That's a big part of what got Envy to the point where they're at now. Is it doesn't matter who's sitting across from them. They're going to just look at them objectively, figure out how to beat them until the set is over.
Well, Envy off to a hot start as well, and after our first day of competition, we have our first little bit of standings here. Nip, Envy, and Renegades are going to be taking your top 3 spots, and as expected, with all 3 being 6-game sets, none of them standing apart from one another as far as map differential goes. Virtus Pro is going to get a chance to play tomorrow, so they'll get in the mix here. Space Station Gaming will remake their matches at a later date, but a pretty exciting first day here of the PPL. I know there's some folks who are interested in how some of these teams won, maybe didn't expect Renegades to come out to the start they did.
Definitely not. I mean, I didn't. I don't think most of the predictions I saw on Twitter believed in the Renegades, but the Renegades are believing in themselves. And though we talked a lot about, they didn't make too many changes, and it sounds like from what they were telling, Shadow is just kind of filling in while they figure out what's going on with Loki, but they're still happy to have that group together. They're still happy with that core group, and they're still happy with the synergy that they've built over the past couple of seasons. Despite whatever their record was back then, this is a new season, this is fresh, this is everybody coming together and living together, and that's, I mean, you could even look over across the board at Smite. They did the same thing. Living together and coming together as a unit has, had really resounding effects for a lot of these teams.
Well, what matters is their record is 1-0.
1-0, baby. Undefeated Renegades. Let's go.
That is going to wrap up our first 3 matches in the PPL. Let's take a quick look at what our schedule will be for tomorrow. Same time, 10 a.m. We're going to start things off with
that was today's schedule.
Today's schedule. Yet again, we assume the teams aren't going to be playing each other. We know that Virtus Pro is going to be able to make their way into the lineup tomorrow, and I know that we had our interview with Vex30 yesterday. Certainly a lot of interest around that lineup. I know that Kanga, Envy are going to be playing each other tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's one to definitely look at, and I believe the Pittsburgh Knights are going to be playing against Virtus Pro as well.
That's going to be a really good one, especially Kanga, Envy. Can they show us something, right? That's the one where, all right, do Na'Vi start stomping people out of the building? That's what I'm looking for tomorrow from Envy.
Sure. Well,
and I mean, I love them, but I mean, it's going to be tough.
Here's the corrected schedule for tomorrow. So Friday, 10 a.m., we're going to start things off with Kanga, Envy, so a high-powered matchup coming there. Renegades looking to duplicate their success against Na'Vi. And rounding out the day at 2 p.m. tomorrow, we'll have the Knights versus Virtus Pro.
That's going to be sick.
Is that your matchup to watch?
That is the one to watch tomorrow for sure. I thought we were going to have some more sweeps tomorrow, so you never know what's going to happen, but I feel as though Envy and Na'Vi are going to be a little stompy tomorrow, but I think VP and Pittsburgh Knights could be a really, really good one.
Well, lots of fun today, lots of fun to be had tomorrow, but that's it for us here today. PPL day number 1 is officially wrapped up. Make sure to tune in tomorrow, 10 a.m., same time, same place for PPL day number 2.
Brought to you by Skillshot, Hi-Res Studios, Evil Mojo, INAP, SteelSeries, Respawn.
They try to